has played a game of this before. It is very good at running down tanks. You have a lot of damage, and we have ourselves in the last game of the Rumble stage for NIP. A bit of that dog.
This has been an answer a couple of times in the top lane, not necessarily to Cassante, but just basically, I mean, to be fair, the pace of these games has been pretty slow. Maybe just stack it up in the top side is the answer.
Maybe. I have to say, I like it into the Cassante. I think it's garbage into the rest of the comp. I mean, the attack speed onto Corki's Rocket Barrage and onto Ezreal's Q doesn't matter. Putting a Wither on them doesn't matter that much. Yeah, sometimes you get a Wither onto Ezreal when he's away for a wall. He can't get away from you. But NIP, they don't have a great amount of setup. The Wither can help with the Nidalee because once you max that out, you have a huge amount of slow for that spear. But even then, in this matchup, you need to be maxing that Soulfire to make sure you have the shred from that too. So it's not even going to be the best setup in this top side. Shanji, after NIP chasing their first series win, the first time that Shanji's played without Aki on the LPL stage, the first time in 1,500 days that Lien has been reunited with Rookie on the same side of the stage as well. And it has come down to a Game 3 in Shenzhen. And LGD, they played out a pretty good game in the Game 2. They played around split picks. They were losing in the grouped up fights, but they made things work when they weren't quite there. So we get ourselves into Game 3 to decide which of these teams has to win.
Yep. Honestly, it felt poetic that we came in today saying LGD, it's down to Chào and Meteor carrying this team. And game number 2 was precisely that, the two of them vying for MVP. It does feel like they both have carry potential with these picks. It's going to be a tough laning phase, though, for Chào in that mid lane against Rookie's Lucian. And we get the Nasus out from Shanji. Whether it can work against this comp, we'll just have to wait and see. Hard to say if LGD have more fans there or if they're closer to the crowd mics. But it sounded like a stronger chant towards LGD. They did win most recently, and I'm going to be honest, neutral fans in the LPL do tend to cheer for whoever just won the game.
Also, LGD is kind of a fan chant that's kind of like TSM in the West, where a lot of people, even after other teams where LGD is not playing, they will just say, LGD, Chào, just because it's just one of those teams which has been around for such a long time. And of course, you know, in the state of the whole LPL, it feels like we are in a whole midst of change. This is the first time when none of the quote-unquote big three have made a playoffs in the LPL. We've had EDG, RNG, and WE all miss playoffs for the first time in the same time. We've had RNG and EDG miss playoffs at the same time before, but never them alongside WE as well. It has felt like it has been a period of big change. And the question is, who goes in to fill those gaps? LGD and NIP have had moments. I think LGD and the starter groups have looked pretty good and they've shown some good gameplay, but they haven't been, they have that curse where they can only succeed in a year ending in a multiple of 5. So 2015, 2020, maybe we'll see them next year. NIP, you know, they used to be V5, and they were a top 4 team in spring.
Speaking of 5s.
They've also kind of struggled to stick the landing. They've been a good team, but haven't really been a great team for long enough.
By not winning a single series in the group stage, they have lived up to the V5 reputation as an organization of just never winning games. Good to see them honoring their organization's history, although technically not the same organization. It is still V5 in conjunction with NIP, so technically still counts. It's been a rough year, hasn't it, for both of these teams?
Yeah.
It has been. I mean, LGD, to be honest, I don't even think this counts as a rough year. They made it to Group Ascent. Like, even though they went 0-7, they finished the split in 8th place, right? So that is a massive upgrade. Lien finds a 1v1. Meteor trades it back pretty efficiently, though.
Yeah, that was with a Conqueror versus an Electrocute too, so the burst really coming out from Meteor gets that center of the Watch Out Eep. One of the best or worst named abilities in the game, depending on your opinion on it. Bot lane fighting a little
Definitely
bit.
Worst.
Definitely worst. I found it quite... Oh god, Rookie doing really well in terms of trading here. One of the reasons we see this Lucian into the Corki, and this is the core of this matchup, is that Lucian very early into the game can deny Corki most of his trading power. If you don't hit the Foss Bomb, ever since we moved away from the Emax of the Corki when we briefly had that lethality build, if you miss Foss Bomb, you don't win trades, and Lucian just hops over it and makes you lose that trade. So it's incredibly important to do that. As we see, this jungle matchup already had a spear land in the jungle. Meteor goes right into the enemy jungle, just takes away the camps.
I do find it funny that the way that jungle aggro works was changed so that
You couldn't
junglers
do
couldn't
that.
double jungle, and then we get these AP junglers that still just double jungle anyway. Shanji finds Meteor, but the two camps are already gone. It's too little, too late from the dog in the top lane.
Yeah. So what you'll notice from Shanji here is that he started with the Soulfire. That E gives you much better wave control than the Q, which means you can't push waves. Now, problem is, NASA's it until much later into the game. You can go towards that Thimble Winter because of the slow from your Wither still being fine with that. It just means that you can just continually control waves with that Soulfire later on. You still should see a Q max, but it's just that first level on the E, which can help with that. And then it can help you get good wave click, even from beyond that melee range, which like Sante can't really max at that same point. Does mean you drop some stacks for the early parts of the game, but
I mean, there was some really obnoxious AP Nasus shenanigans earlier in the year. I don't know if that's still going on, where you just Emax, you run Comet, and you just burn them down, and then once you finish... I can't remember what first time it was. I think it might have been Leandri's. It might have just been Blackfire, to be honest. You basically just eat them twice and they die, and then you win the game. You basically just don't level Q as well, because your stacks don't matter, because it's all about your E damage.
Yeah. That was that. See, this is one of those things where, you know, that back in 2018 when the Shy was winning Worlds, he was saying, yeah, I play ARAM a lot because it means it kind of stretches your imagination of the game, because you run into weird shit that just wouldn't happen on Summoner's Rift, where we saw stuff like the poke with Altiash, which became meta after that point. We saw stuff like the AP Nasus as well, as a champion that would just sit there and just throw E after E and control the wave. Occasionally, games like that can mean you run into things you wouldn't think would succeed otherwise. Also, AP Kai'Sa was another thing which came out of that game mode too, and the like. So Shanji, going towards his first base, has himself those tier 2 boots now. He'll be much happier in this lane matchup now. Nasus is a very move speed reliant champion to keep himself either away or onto his target. Nasus is very much a champion which is gated by his sticking power. Shanji with the phase rush, tier 2 boots very early will be pretty happy now for this point.
Nice trade from Rookie, but Haichao does match it to some extent, and the culling dodged by the Valkyrie of Haichao. So Rookie using that level 6 spike, but doesn't really get it to stick. Remember, in game number 1, we saw this precise matchup. Rookie managed to get that solo kill onto Haichao. Doesn't look like we're going to see a repeat performance.
This one was much more of the dulling instead of the culling. Doesn't really do that much, and we'll see whether they can do more of that a little bit later on. We'll see. You know, weird thing about the Lucian, as we see the grubs going down, I have no idea why we've moved away from Kraken Slayer and over to Blade of the Ruin King just randomly. Like, we could have been building Blade all this time if it was good, but then I just don't get the logic. Blade hasn't even, I mean, rather, Kraken Slayer hasn't even been nerfed yet. It's coming up later on, but sometimes mid lane builds really confuse me. It just makes me think that someone like Chovy's done it or Faker's done it, and then just everyone follows suit without really understanding why. But hey, we have Blade Lucian now. Very good duelist item. You get that slow on the autos, on the multiple autos later on. It becomes very, very impactful. But yeah, I just don't quite get why we moved away from Kraken Slayer if we were building that in the first place.
I think maybe the logic is just more straight up burst damage, in terms of the fact that a lot of Kraken Slayer's power is from consistently hitting the same target. And if you're hitting a front line for a long time, that's great. However, Lucian, typically in these fights, you don't get to proc it that many times, right? Twice at most. Maybe just the proc of the Blade of the Rune King makes that initial burst trade just that bit stronger compared to a front line with a burst from Blade of the Rune King than with just one proc from a Kraken Slayer.
I think the other thing as well is your first back of the game for Blade of the Rune King is much better, because Vamp Scepter is just an insanely good laning item, because now between Doran's Blade and Vamp Scepter you get yourself a huge amount of sustain. It's mainly what we've been seeing anyway, so we'll be seeing that a lot more. That's a good trade by Birdall. That's a roam up from support though, and you don't have draw. This is a complete outnumbered fight.
Lian caught out here, pounces and then flashes into mid lane. I'm surprised he got away from that one quite so healthy, but Rookie will not be so lucky. He might be able to get an execute, flashes to make it happen, stays underneath the tower, and will go down for an execute. So despite some action, we are still 0-0.
So Jinchao got the better roam than Joy, who was way back in base while that happened. So LGD, they don't get anything there. They lose themselves the flash and Haichao. When we were talking about various builds, and now look, there are more interesting things to talk about, there being a trade of Dragon and Grubs. I'm just saying that now just to keep things up there. But you know, LGD, decent-ish early game from them. Game 1's early game was really not great from LGD, and even then, the second game too was still NIP favored. They have been settling more and more into the early game as the series goes on, and that's been one of the big things which has been one of my big criticisms for LGD, is that their early games just haven't been fit for purpose for Group Percent. They've been blown out by most of the teams that they've been against, and it means that they can't show they're really cool. Split map state and High Chow in side lanes and Meteor having his big carry performances at points too. We haven't really been able to see that because their early games haven't allowed them to. They've not actually been able to play the game. One series which really stuck out to mind with that was actually Anyone's Legend, which we'll see play just after this too. That series, I believe, is starting at some point. We'll catch up to that as we do.
Must have started by now.
It's probably started by now.
Started at 12.
Yeah, so we'll get towards that as soon as we can. But they just crushed LGD in the early game where they couldn't even play the game. The fact that LGD do have early games now in this series means that we do get to see the better parts of LGD, which you didn't really get to see in the rest of this group.
I've got to say, very different game, isn't it, to the rest of the series? Like, the fact that this series has been an absolute fist fight for the entire duration of the first two games. Very, very quiet start to the third one. You can see that the seeding does matter to our two teams. Birdall finds the all-out Shanji. Wants to set up for Lien, but can't quite find it, and Birdall will zip himself out to safety.
So, Birdall, falling a little bit behind the Nasus matchup, and we see that, Shanji's starting to get himself some stacks, 140 by 10. I'm trying to remember how many stacks he meant to have by Nasus, like per 10 minutes. I seem to remember it was at 200. I'm trying to remember when the mark for 200 is, so if anyone does know about Nasus stacks, it's changed over time, particularly when you level your E a little bit early. You do lose some from the early levels, but, I've tried to clue myself into center stacks, and just Nasus is not a champion, so I've just forgotten about the stack numbers over time.
Yeah, and like you say, it changes as well, depending on the builds, depending on the matchups and whatnot. I think 160 is pretty decent at 10 minutes.
I just can't remember how many you're meant to have.
Like, I'm trying to reach into my memory here. I want to say 300 at 20 is, like, fine. Like, it's not amazing, but it's like, that's sort of requirement to be useful. So he's on track for that. I don't know if that number is totally accurate, but...
Look, chat is saying it's a good number. I'm going to take that. So that's good to know. We'll try and see if he gets like 300 by 20 or something like that. Man, I love Nasus as a champion because it's been a champion ever since the dawn of League of Legends. Has been changed so much. But right now, he's on the weak side. Has boots and an ultimate coming up in 5 seconds. Don't think he's going to live here.
Chao goes in. Shanji pinned against the wall. I mean, that's a lot of damage coming in. He's put to sleep. Can anyone actually follow up on the damage? Shanji's still going. Okay, they finally bring down the raid boss. He was barking at the top of his lungs, but it just was not enough.
So left on that weak side, even though there was some resources put up from Lien towards that Nasus earlier on, does not put him into a position where he can survive a 1v3 dive. So we'll see if he can do that later on into the game.
Worth mentioning, that was with no defensive items. All he had defensively was boots there, and he survived a long old time. Now, granted, it's only really Meteor as a damage dealer, but even still, Shanji's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I think that, weirdly, LGD were the team that were thriving off of split picks in that last game. I think Nasus is the person that wants to do that this game. If you can ever find someone isolated, we saw this with the Shyvana across the last week of play. Shyvana's become weirdly meta here in the LPL. But needs to be a little careful there. But now with this Nasus, if Nasus gets to a point where he gets towards Triforce and he gets towards himself that second item on a good time point, there's not many people in LGD who can survive that. If Corki or Ezreal get themselves with it, that's going to be a problem. Anyway, Dragon has been slaughtered, and that is more important. Birdall walking potentially down to the play. I think Dragon's going to go down without a fight, though.
Yeah, Lien, I don't think he really has a way in there, so Meteor will be able to smite that objective away. That's 2 now for LGD. There will be a Hextech Soul as well, so could increase the pace of the game. The Hextech portals often do mean that playing through tempo kind of messes with you a little bit. Xin Zhao might go down to the culling. Haicha actually valks in to save his support. Nice fog of war play coming out from an OP.
That's your Blade of the Roking spike right there. One item, and then suddenly Lucian is a heck of a duelist. Kind of is that the entirety of the early game, but extends your power spike even more. So NIP, their solo lane is not in bad points of power. Shanji's doing fine against Birdall there, and of course he's going to be stacking fairly effectively. Rookie, need to see what he can do on this Lucian now. Also, another point of concern at this point, Lien on the Nidalee. And so funnily enough, a little bit early in the split, I caught a little bit of heat for saying that Shun doesn't have the Nidalee pass right now. And there is a good reason I say that even for... There are great Nidalee players out there, and you do have to be individually good enough to make these things work. But you also, Nidalee is a team pick right now. You need to make it work in the macro sense. You need to make it work with roams and setup from your laners. And the problem is, Lien, most played pick of all time, a very effective player of this champion throughout history. Nidalee right now needs to do so much work early that it becomes very, very hard to justify this pick later on, and Lien hasn't gotten that much done just yet. I think the window of time for him is starting to close a little bit, and I'm keeping my eyes on this jungler, even though it's a specialty pick for him, to see how much value he's going to get out of it, because this is a problem we've had.
Shanji clears the ward to set up for Rookie in the top side. Birdol withered. Can they finish off the raid boss? Birdol is hard to bring down, and he pulls the dog over the wall. Back into his kennel he goes. Birdol outplays the 2v1 and sets up a high Chao.
Oh, Shanji, you play so much of that champion too. Walls are not your friend. Gets bopped twice by the Q3 and then the W. Birdol, even though he's been losing a lot of lanes, has had impact. He's going to teleport himself back into the player now. Gets himself some gold spent from that base. Shanji doesn't have teleport. LGD can take a 5v4 on the top side around the Herald.
NIP look like they want to contest anyway. This would be a 4-man players. Lien is punted back by Birdol, who wants an MVP, it seems. Chunked by the spear on the way out. Herald down to 2k as Lien trying to move in, but Jinzhao finds a 2-man engage, and Lien sent away as 1-for-1 as Zhuo charges into the mix. Herald picked up by Xiaoya. Zhuo gets some multi-man knock-up, but there's no damage to follow it up, and suddenly Photic is stuck on the back side of the play. Xiaoya keeping Rookie and Zhuo at bay as Shanji goes in and just dies immediately. Rookie next to fall. NIP falling apart before our very eyes.
This is one of the first genuinely large fights which NIP have lost. Maybe it's the pressure getting to them. Maybe it's the heat of the occasion. NIP at 0-7, and it's feeling like a bit of a 0-7 moment around that Herald. LGD, they get themselves a hell of a lot of gold. They're going to get themselves that objective too. Is picked up by Xiaoya on that Ezreal. And while they don't have something like 6 grubs or something like that to really accelerate the game with that Herald to the same kind of level, that is a huge fight from LGD. This is now suddenly Shanji, who's gone to 0-3 on the Nasus. We were saying he was stacking fine. Well, he's not if he's dying this often now. This even started fine after this point. You're in the 4v5, but you managed to get a huge amount of damage onto Birdol, who still doesn't have ult. It's not like he can regen beyond this. But then just a lot of the... This just goes weird after this point. Lien gets chunked out. Rookie's still getting traded on pretty heavily after this point. And Zhuo, it's a good knockup, but Photic doesn't have the damage to solo carry at this point. Kai'Sa is not an early game carry. She can't do that amount of burst damage at this point. And it feels like it's just one person running in time after time from NIP without actually coordinating very well, which is a huge problem considering how well they were coordinating earlier in the series.
It just feels like, as well, they were playing around damage numbers that just weren't coming out, Like, Rookie and Photic both diving in individually at different moments to, like, finish off a kill, but then being, like, 200 or 300 damage short of the burst required. And it feels like maybe they're just... when you're... Hang on a second, Lien is caught.
Oh, man.
No, this is another pick. There's no flash up. It's Xiaoya with a freebie. And he's got the Herald in his pocket. This could be an angle to brute force tier 1 mid, honestly, and set up for the Drake.
Exactly. It's typically the Herald can be used as a counterweight, where you put it down in mid lane while the Dragon's spawning, and one team has to respond. Well, they can't respond to either now. I mean, this is the problem I'm talking about with the Nidalee, where it is a team pick. You can be good just individually at that player, but at that champion, but you also have to have the coordination and the understanding of what your team needs from you around that pick as well. And suddenly, Liam, 0-2-1. That's not good enough for a Nidalee in this meta. Nidalee is hard to play as the game goes on. Very, very hard. You're not making it any easier. How's that Leandries will have damage if you hit spears, but currently, the benchmark for what Nidalee should be doing in early game has absolutely not been reached, and that's going to really hurt NIP.
And it's like the Nidalee can function as a sort of poke champion later on into the game, but you're against Lilia, Corki, Ezreal. It's not like the enemy team doesn't have poke, It's not like they've not got a Cassante to soak it up on the front line. I'm not sure that'll be much of a win condition as Rookie takes a tower shot. Lien moving up top, but goes wide on the spear. We'll set up for a tier 1 here. Jinzhao sent into the rest of the team. The spear goes wide again. Jinzhao will just walk away. A tier 1 acquired, while in the meantime, Chao gets tier 1 in the bottom lane. It's going to be Drake taken for LGD, and Herald comes down mid, which will set up for Xiaoya to finish this tower. It's a huge gold swing in favor of LGD. Hang on a second. Xiaoya caught In the Herald, the slow from the Swirl Seed saves his life. There's a ward behind enemy lines. Birdle has TP. It's a double TP coming out from LGD as they want to punish NIP. They want to find more. Duo punted into the rest of the team and will be taken down. That's 2 extra off the back of a huge macro trade. Birdle escapes to the rest of his team and LGD can look for more.
NIP's macro is in absolute shambles. Absolute shambles. LGD take easy turrets in mid and bot lane. And serious credit to Birdle again. I think that Birdle is a player who's had a lot of flack, understandably so. I'm not saying that criticism is not correctly put towards him, but I think even when he's been behind in matchups in this series, he's had teamfight impact. And even here, when he's on the weak side, which he's not always managed to do across this year so far, he escapes that turret trade. He doesn't overcommit in that top side and die under that turret and give NIP something more. He survives in that top side. Everyone collects their resources around the map, and then he teleports back in with Chào as well. Birdle playing the map like this makes it so much easier. Of course, Chào coming into it as well. LGD just seems so much more on the same page when it comes to the wider map plays. NIP, when they're not starting on the same screen and people are moving from lane to lane, feel like they get lost in the source a little bit.
And the thing is, like, LGD have just gone to default solo queue strategy here. When it comes to, you see the Nasus on the enemy team, you see a Kale on the enemy team, you're like, okay, this is a pick that will scale if I ignore it, so let's just kill it 4 times in the first 20 minutes. Like, Shanchi is just doing nothing. He walks in that fight, does no damage, dies immediately, 0-4-0, hasn't had an impact. Birdle on the other side is setting up his team perfectly.
And, you know, we've seen the Nasus once or twice in LPL. We saw Shanji play it once in spring, I seem to remember. I think also Qingtian also played it for Ultra Prime. And one thing I've noticed really about the Nasus as well is that when you are very much in the same degree of the Shyvana, which, weirdly enough, both these champions were around in, like, Season 3, Season 4, around the same kind of time in both jungle and in top lane as well. They are not full tanks. They are very good at running down an individual member when they have those kind of items, but they're not full tanks. And the problem is when you're falling behind on the rest of the map, and also this Alistar in this game is not a good enough tank. You're going to lose your ultimate to poke. You're going to lose half your HP before your ultimate really becomes that valuable either. Shanji is going to have to be a frontline without being a good frontline champion. And also, he is 0-4. So he's not a good frontline champion, and he's not in a good spot within this game. He's just not in a good place. He's just not having a fun time, and he's going to get focused on time after time.
I mean, if he gets a 1v1 with Chào, then he'll be in a good spot, but I just don't see that scenario really coming to pass.
I think the rally
But I just want to remind everyone what's at stake here today. The winner of this series gets to play against IG in their best of 5 to try and find playoffs. The loser will have to go up against RA, and honestly, after this series, I think I favor RA versus either of these teams at this point. And honestly, it's not just about the opponent that you get in terms of, like, you know, IG's probably an easier opponent, right? I think it's fair to say. However, it's also NIP, like Shanji up against, Lien and Rookie up against IG. It does feel poetic that they would have to play that series, but they need to win this one first. Draw gets a 4-man pulverize. Well, that is unfortunately all NIP will get. Abandoned by his team as Birdle finds Shanji on the top side of the play, and that is not a tank, my friends. Photic, next one to be caught up as Birdle gets 2 in his Q3. My goodness, this is a massacre. LGD are just obliterating NIP.
And NIP, they had good early games in the rest of the series. They had good team fights in the rest of the series. They managed it for 2 games, but in terms of that aspect of it, they lose the second game to split plays over anything else. And now not even that's working for them in game 3. I don't know what is working for them in this summer split. They've had occasional good games. They've taken away a win in this series where they look good in those scrappier big team fights. But, you know, you're coming back 3-0 out to this play here. Draw, he goes to the big play, but there's no follow-up. He goes in for a great knockup. Okay, and what? What's in there? There's no spear following up. Lern must have that on cooldown. Rookie throws a culling through, okay? Doesn't even take anyone down to half HP. Shanji doesn't have a flash to get over the wall. He's there late as well. This is uncoordinated, it is directionless, and is ineffective. NIP, the composition doesn't work out, and I think that LGD look like they understand their roles within the game much, much better. NIP are by far the second best team in this game.
I don't know if it's an issue of the players. I don't know if it's an issue of the coaching staff, maybe. But I don't know. This sub-in from Lien has not been the answer. It didn't fix things in the way that perhaps NIP were hoping. And here in game, after such a close series as well, after such a close series, the way that this last game is going, it's just painful to watch for any rookie fans at home today. I mean, avert your eyes, turn off the stream. This is not the one for you, because my goodness, this is just painful to see.
Rookie's not making worlds, folks. Definitely not as it stands. Last time he went to an international
He's not even making playoffs, never mind worlds.
That's where this team has fallen to. And you know, it's very hard to put into perspective or decide which perspective to look at this from. For Rookie, of course, I think on an individual level, I still think he has been an incredibly powerful player for this team. And I think that on a mechanical level, he's also been playing well in the laning phases. He's not the 1v9 rookie of some years past, and it's very hard to be in a situation like this with the team that NIP has put together. This team has been struggling to find themselves an identity after the spring meta changes, after they came into summer. They've really struggled to recapture that again, and LGD, on the other side of this, they have managed to build beyond something more. I think that their players have managed to find themselves a bit of flexibility. I think particularly Chao and Meteor have found themselves a much better start in this summer.
I think this series is a great example of like strong individuals on NIP versus LGD, which is like the sum is greater than its individual parts. You know, I feel like LGD have come together as a team to be able to make it into Group Ascend. They have outperformed expectation just by being in this group alone. NIP are a team that with a roster like this should be making it to the World Championship, and that is not the level of performance we've seen from them this year. And now LGD, with 2 inhibs already taken, they look towards a third. It took them 3 Barons in their previous game win. This time they take 3 inhibs off of 1 Baron.
So that's another kill there. Hextech Soul rears its head as LGD. This will not be a late game long banger. It is not a bang. It is a whimper for NIP's end of the Rumble stage.
This has been a brutal. Birdall will fall at the end of it. Oh no, he won't. Primal Surge. It's traded at very least to Shanji does his best to answer onto Chao. He can't even get the kill onto the horsey. The horse is greater than the dog. I think we all already knew that one from wars of years gone by. Oh my goodness. What a smacking from LGD. What absolute destruction in game number 3. NIP. They look a bit dejected, and I'm not at all surprised. That was a tragic way to end their split.
So while we were in that game 3 as well, it is worth noting that BLG have already won their first game versus AL. I thought we might miss a bit of that first game, but we've actually ended up missing. For the first time this year, I've missed an entire game rather than just a part of one. I don't know what the hell happened in that series, but we'll catch up to that one ASAP. It does mean that we don't have to jump over immediately to that, but thank you folks for joining us once again. Of course, this is a non-broadcast day in the English broadcast, and the very last one we'll have that during the year. During this time, we've been trying to, in our own ways, via co-stream or kind of more this stream as well, try and cover some of those games so you out there can enjoy it in whatever form that you want to, even though it's not on the official channel. So we hope that you've been enjoying that as well. We will jump over to that second series. I guess I'll just change the feed over. Probably now's a good time to take a break as well. We'll get in towards that second series as quickly as we can. So let me go find that whole thing where I change over the streams and stuff.
So the question is, do we watch game 2 of that second series first so we can watch that live? Or do we just go watch game 1 and do it in sequence?
Well, I don't actually know how to delay the clean feed is the problem. Oh shit, that's really fucking loud. Well, let's turn that down. Yeah, because the clean feed, I don't know how that really works out. Please start from game 1. The problem is I actually don't know how to delay the clean feed. Yeah. So how quick was that game actually? Let me just have a look to see if.
I mean, it must have been pretty quick that this all happened during a 25-minute game. Yeah. Or I guess they won't have started at the same time necessarily. No. So maybe. But it must have been fairly quick.
Yeah, I actually don't know how to delay it on the media source. Game 2 is live. Well, the game 2 is not live right now. Game 2 hasn't started just yet. Right. I can go check on. I wonder if I can manage to get on Bilibili and rewind it that way. That could potentially work, but we'd have to do that without game sound that way, which would be a bit of a pain. We will. So they won that first game. Let me just see. Yeah, let me just see how long the game was. How long does it go to? How quick was this?
Okay, while you figure that out, I'll read out this no context Brits tweet because it's hilarious. Just at Tesco, there was a dispute over whether a guy had jumped in the queue ahead of a woman. It escalated, the two of them yelling, security involved. The woman got her phone and said, I make one call, you will be killed. What? Surely, you've got to save that card for bigger stuff.
That is something. I mean, okay, folks, I think what we do right now is we go straight into the second draft because it is here right now, and I don't really want to faff around with going towards that first game again. So apologies for those that missed that first game. It was so quick, a 24-minute victory for BLG. I guess we just jump straight into this one and see whether BLG can make it as quick. I mean, we've got no Ash Braum, the Sejuani. It is something which can allow you to accelerate the game.
Are we fast forwarded on the clean feed right there?
I don't
feel like
think
this music
so.
is faster than usual. I don't think you have power over that. I just mean like...
Oh, in terms of the game music? I'm actually not sure.
Do you know what I mean?
That.
Yeah. Anyway, BLG first pick the Sejuani. Ala blind picks the Tristana. The Kenna for the top side, and the Tristana comes through for Shanks. Some power picks definitely for AL there.
Yeah, and, you know, this is definitely something where Shanks had a load of value in before. I will say Shanks has suffered more and more in the Rumble stage as it's gone on. He has come out of group stage feeling like the best mid laner in the LPL. I think he's been humbled a little bit as he goes into the Rumble stage. BLG needs some magic damage from somewhere. They don't have that magic damage jungler, so they go towards that Ziggs instead, towards that bot lane. And that goes towards that Yone. It's a fine matchup into the Tristana, and Elk can very much combo into the Sejuani or the Yone, depending on who finds that first pick.
See who can get it. The feed, I think, has slowed down again. I wonder if it was in like catch-up mode or something. That was so weird. The music was definitely faster. Like, I heard that song so many times that, like, it's ingrained, you know. We do get the Ivan for Kuroko. Ivan has been sneaking its way into the LPL since Stop Esports brought it out internationally. I don't know about you, but my feed has, in fact, frozen.
Huh,
I don't know
no,
if that's
it hasn't. So that's
Okay.
not on your end. I will
I'm
try
just
my
going
best
to open... I'll close the stream and reopen.
Is it working now? I've tapped in and tapped out. So look, folks, we have been doing this, of course, as basically a non-official broadcast. So occasionally we have some of those tech issues like that. You just let me know if that's working.
Yeah, no, it's good again.
If it's good again, hopefully we'll stay with this. Let me know exactly when that problem happens.
Yeah, so the Ivan is like... For anyone that doesn't know, historically, Ivan has been a disastrous pick for the LPL. Like, it's just not... It's not something that we've vibed with. Whenever it's been meta, it's been a bit of a disaster for us as a region. Top Esports, though, showed that it is possible to play Ivan in the LPL. And I wonder how fast this will spread across our top teams and whether other teams can replicate that level of success. Because, I don't know, it just has not been... It's kind of like Corki mid for us back when it was AP Corki mid. You know, it just didn't look good for us as a region. Maybe Top Esports have bridged the way over to Ivan now.
Yeah, and it has been this pick, which, you know, the LPL refused to play this pick for years. It was kind of... I remember MLXG playing it at MSI 2016 or something like that, whenever it first came out. It might have been one of those times. But maybe it was 2017, because I think that was when Peanut was on SKT. But so ever since then, it's just been one of those things like, nah, it doesn't allow you to do as much damage. Nah, give you the Lee Sin instead or something like that. Getting ourselves into the later part of this draft, we do have potential of, well, last pick, AD carry for Hope. Very rare to see the last pick bot lane like that, but I suppose Kyle taking away that Rel means that it's a combo missing now from On and Elk in terms of that Ziggs. They do still have the Rakan and the Nautilus, which are both completely fine to go towards that too. They can do whatever they really want. And plus they have the combo elsewhere in the map too. So it's not like Elk is going to be starved for options to combo up with.
No, it certainly won't be. I've been searching the internet for the last 5 minutes to try and find a match history of that previous game. I cannot bloody find it anywhere. No, none of the websites seem to be updated just yet. I want to compare the drafts. If anyone has seen a match history, let me know in chat what website you found it on, and I can go and compare the drafts. But definitely, I like the draft, honestly, from AL here. When you've got an Ivan and a Tristana, I always think that's a really, really strong way to start things off. The one thing I will say, though, Elk and On, having this Ziggs lane against the Kaiser, they are going to be very, very comfortable in that lane phase, and there's a real dive angle available for BLG should Wei want to make his way down into that bottom lane.
Yeah, I think that BLG have really good early proactivity. The question is, how are the early lanes going to allow for that? Because you do have the cannon, which can really bully around this top lane early. Tristana has very good early push as well. And also even bot lane. I mean, you've got the Ziggs, who at level 1 can struggle with that a little bit too. So, yeah, we're going to have to see really what's going to happen there. Last game, it was actually Bin on the cannon, so there's a bit of a takeaway on that front. As we load ourselves into this second game, we ended up missing the first game because of an overlap from that first series, and how quickly the first game ended. 24-minute victory for BLG over Anyone's Legend. Anyone's Legend, their schedule has gotten harder and harder.
So last game was Ziggs Bard bot for Anyone's Legend with a Maokai jungle, a Corki and a Yone. What the hell is that comp?
I believe that is a Corki top lane that was tried out before.
It must have been,
I think there was a Corki top lane into the cannon. Cannon can struggle versus ranged matchups there, but obviously for Ala, it didn't work when 0-4 ensued. So AL, they were cooking a little bit, and it did not work. They burned their hands, and BLG took them back to culinary school. As now we get ourselves into this game 2 for what could be our last game of the day.
Let's see if AL can do a little bit better this time. They've got the cannon. They're not going to be against a Corki top. Okay, I wasn't sure if something was going to happen. All right. Shenanigans in the first game. BLG were having none of it. Honestly, an important game for BLG to show what they're made of for playoffs. Remember, this is a team that realistically came into the split looking like the team that should just kind of win everything. The team that should just walk this one home. And then they have struggled. They've gone to 3 games in so many of their series, and it's going to be down to game difference on whether or not they make it into the top 2 seeds or whether they are overtaken by Top Esports. Remember, Top Esports play against JDG tomorrow and still have the chance of stealing that 2nd seed away from BLG.
Yeah, so this is, of course, really big for that. The seeding for LPL playoffs. Hang on a second. Did Croco just miss time or miss his Q? That's going to slow down his clear speed a bit. That's not great from Croco. Ivan, a lot of what you want to do is put down those marks as quickly as possible. Go to the other side and use your smite there, and then you return after the marks are basically matured on these camps. Missing that by a few seconds can sometimes be an issue, especially against someone like a Sejuani who hits level 3, level 4, and can genuinely start impacting the map very quickly beyond that point. So we'll see whether that becomes an issue. Right now, BLG, they might be able to spot a Crocker going onto that Raptors as the level 1 happens.
Exhaust already used in trade for Ignite. Hope and Elk both chunked as On and Kael just hammering away at each other, both big metal clubs of different varieties. Slamming away in that bottom side. I'm glad to see an aggressive start, though, from Hope and Kael, because it's so easy to fall behind in the lane against Ziggs, and once you do it, it becomes very difficult to fight your way back in.
I remember when Ziggs bot lane first started getting played, and the person I shout out for this, because I used to watch the stream all the time, was Shifter. Shifter used to play Ziggs bot lane all the time. One of the first people to play it back then. He also played Zed bot lane, which, again, that didn't really catch on, but the Ziggs did. You need to get level 4 for that level 2 of your Q first. That's where things really turn out. Crocker's not on top side. BLG's jungle away is Ala. He might have to blow his flash hit.
Nice little knockback there, trying to set up for the stun.
Wow.
Bin has the wave in a pretty good spot. I wonder how many minions are still there. Looks like it will just about still be frozen, so Ala has to try and step up to this wave once more. Wayne moves back into his jungle, though, not going to try and cheese and re-gank again. Moves over to clear his camps. Croco is 3 camps ahead right now.
Yeah, first clear for Ivan is deceptively really fast because you get all of those marks down, you move to the other side of the jungle, you use your smite there, and then you can clear everything very quickly. Croc is not going to be able to stop him from taking that course. Yeah, Ivan doesn't steal camps in the traditional way. He needs to put that mark down and get the smite, but he'll be very able to put this down very quickly on the Gromp there, and take it and get out. Ivan, at least for the first clear of the game, is very, very good if you get yourself into the right place.
Nicely done there by Croco, using the prio in that top side to find something. Hope dashes over to follow up on the engage from Kael, and Elk is the target. One more auto will finish the job. He flashes and dodges the Void Seeker. A hook from On is perfect for first First blood. BLG outplaying the 2v2 on flashes for the kill as Elk backed away, but it's to set up for Way to finish the job. Immaculate play in the bottom lane.
Worst case scenario against BLG is letting their bot lane get ahead. Elk and On, when they snowball, are potentially the best bot lane in the world. They do it all by themselves this time. Way cleans up an extra one, but those 2v2 play so close for Hope and Kyle, but sadly for anyone's legend, they have learned just how hard the competition is here in the Ascend group. We didn't even get to witness the destruction of that first game. We're here straight into that second game. BLG, they are taking 0 prisoners right now. Allah hasn't got himself a lead in top lane and bot lane. That's going to be a big problem. The early levels versus the Ziggs are where you can start getting some extra advantages. Now you've just given them 2 assists and given them an easy back into that lane. That is a huge issue.
And crucially for AL, a playoffs bye is on the line for them right now. This is an argument between playing in that first round of playoffs or playing in the second. They would love to skip to the second round. They would love to tie up with JDG. Right now they're tied with FPX. They need wins on the board here. Going negative. If FPX can improve their game score tomorrow, could make all the difference. The flashes come on through. Unfortunately, just this hook from On is perfect.
And this is just also great 2v2 mentality. When your AD carry gets all in, you turn on the enemy AD carry, because that's where the damage is. If you burst out the support, sure, that's okay, but the enemy AD carry has more damage for these plays too. He just sees that Elk steps up a little too far and misuses that satchel, immediately turns around and Hope gets absolutely blasted. Coming back into lane now, and On's almost at those Merc treads and can get himself a lot more of that magic resist. He's very happy with this laning phase so far, and BLG, they have survived now through to 3 levels on the Ziggs queue, which makes laning phase and wave play so much more easy. Going back to another replay of something that happened while we were in the previous replay. It's like the Monty Python thing. It's like the person in charge of this has now been fired as Knight has just been removed from the mid lane.
So Shanks is basically just solo killing Knight, I guess.
Yeah,
Shanks has actually had an insane year for himself. If you remember, like 2 years ago, this guy was just some guy. He was just another mid laner. He'd come in. I think, if I remember right, when he first joined, he was like famous for his Cassiopeia in the LPL.
The Cass 1 trick, yep.
Some crazy quadra kills there and stuff like that. But it wasn't that impressive when he first joined. Allah was, though, as he goes for a slicing maelstrom onto 2. The shields come on through, and Shanks has an opportunity to clean house. Knight wants to answer and does find 1, but 1 is not equal to 2.
No, quick math to you right there. We're very even in gold, and Shanks has picked up a lot of those resources for anyone's legend. Top lane is even, and that's not something which AL wants to see, and bot lane, of course, is not really what they want to see in terms of that Ziggs. But now suddenly with the Tristana, even after the nerfs, getting through these early levels and getting to 3 kills early on, with a Cull also being stacked up too, Shanks could be the carry that they need.
Oh, the hook from On to save Elk from Kyle's engage there, and Hope to getting chunked out. On, low on HP. The exhaust saves On's life. The Bard comes out after they bodied Kyle's Bard in game number 1. Oh, Lord, On is here to play today. Man,
BLG annoy me so much when their bot lane is off form, but when this bot lane are at the peak of their potential, they're a beauty to watch. It's one of the reasons why BLG have managed to be historically dominant in the LPL between last summer and spring regular season. They've been fantastic, and this top side here, going back to a replay of this, I think Allah chooses a great place to reposition to. There's no point flashing back to the turret. He goes down to where the shield is waiting for him, and yes, a kill comes down, and Knight picks that one up, which is very important, but the fact that Allah manages to delay long enough to get to his teammates makes that a much more favorable trade for AL.
And importantly, Shanks has a hat-trick. Allah just cannot catch a break, can he? Way sets up with the stun. No. Oh, no. Bin does have his ultimate. I forget quite how short that Gnar ultimate is. Nice setup on the top side for BLG. Shanks is the shining light for AL right now, and he's got an Ivan alongside him. Maybe he can be the carry. Knight once again caught up in the mid lane. The bomb will do some damages on. Looks for an engage. Way moves in. All things considered, though, Croco is just doing Drake while this all kicks off. Bombs come in. There's a smite. Elk is in a questionable position, and he's being chased down by a tree and a horse and a weird golem thing. Elk knocked up by Kyle, and he will be knocked up by Daisy as well. The roots come on in. Daisy does, bringing down the kill and bringing it home for AL. Croc looking for the root onto way, but won't be able to find it. They did manage to eventually get themselves a kill.
Oh, man. I was sat there thinking, well, they don't have damage. They're an over and a rel, right? Well, it's still enough if they still hit you for like 30 seconds continually. L choosing the wrong time to go up there. Hope didn't have his ult, so maybe he thought, oh, the Kai'Sa can't get into the play, I'll be fine. But BLG... this is why we get frustrated with BLG. Fantastic first game, but so many of their series have gone to 3 games because they just turn off. They switch off, and it's really frustrating for a team which should be the best team in the LPL based off of what they've done recently in the LPL's regular seasons, and within, of course, getting to MSI finals. This team should be at the top of the tree. They've had to replace their jungler. They've had weird, wildly varying performances from their bot lane, which we've come to expect a little bit, but also from Knight as well, who's occasionally had some really poor performances on the AD mids as well. That is why I would love for this team to be at top form, but realistically, we're just not seeing it consistently.
The crazy thing, like, I am essentially a conspiracy theorist at this point because I genuinely believe Knight is the difference. Because on top esports, they're a team famous for having happy games. They're a team famous for just dropping games in series that don't matter and just messing about, essentially. It wasn't Jackie Love, because look at top esports now without Knight on the roster. And look at BLG now with Knight on the roster. This is a team that regularly drops games. I genuinely believe that Knight does not care about game difference. All he cares about is playoff series, and they just vibe. Man. They just absolutely vibe.
You know what's so funny about that is that it's exactly what we were saying about Yagao. Like, Yagao sat there like, oh, it's playoffs, Yagao. Maybe it's the same with Knight. We'll see whether we can pull it out in this series as well. Croco is unseen. Here comes Daisy. Big wave from them. That should disengage the play, unless Ala wants a little more. Dodges out on the ult.
Nice little sidestep. Feigns his engage there and pulls the ult out from way. Nicely done. Damage onto Hope. Satchel charge nearly knocks him into the Mega Inferno bomb. I mean, this is just indefensible as a Kai'Sa on your own under the tower. What on earth do you do to try and get any of this CS?
And this is the problem where I think that a lot of teams over time had to change their opinion of what Ziggs does. He is not a weak side champion where you just let him farm up. He should be destroying turrets like this. Bin is Mininar. He's going to die.
He gets one hop, but the stun comes on through in the end, and there's a root caller as well. Yeah. Ala grabs himself his first kill of the game.
One hop this time, slide to the left. Green screen! Bin goes down. And everybody can Ziggs, if you're left alone in a winning lane, is going to destroy all those plates. And AL are now going to have to deal with a very, very fed Ziggs later into this game. Yeah. So BLG, they let on back out onto the map. Grubs are now spawning. BLG will look to get multiple.
Bin wanted a clap of the hands. It was a clap of lightning instead. Elk has been found in the bottom side. And there we go. Nice little kill for Hope and Kyle. Nicely done. Nice setup. Nice follow-up. And in the meantime, BLG gets something topside. I feel like we really are aggressively trading around the map here. This is high kill gameplay, but very even high kill gameplay.
I'm really quite upset by BLG there because, look, your Ziggs is the point of power. I get getting the grubs, but also, like, don't let your Ziggs die like that randomly. He should be taking that turret for free. Now, Bin is going to get some resource on top side, and that's important. He is still really far ahead of this top lane. Ridiculous stats with almost no pressure for most of this year. Now, BLG have started playing towards top side more over summer, but on the whole, Bin has been doing all of his own stunts. He doesn't need a stunt double. He is the stunt man. And he's also had some of the best stats while having none of those resources too. Getting the 5 grubs now and being ahead of that cannon, getting towards Merc Treads and getting quickly towards his first item is a great thing for BLG. And Ala is now playing a cannon who's not ahead in lane despite those resources.
Cannon can still have a big impact later on. But it would have been nice, wouldn't it, with how much time Croco has spent on that top side for Ala to be a bit more of a menace at this point in the game. Shanks really is where the gold lead lies for AL. They do have that gold lead, it's just not that significant just yet. Knight doing his best to try and catch some of the wave, but Shanks not letting him anywhere near, basically proxying between the towers. He's got Croco and he's got Kyle down with him. It means Ala has to forego this tier 1 in the top side. And actually TP's mid to catch that wave.
What's happening top side as well? Because Ziggs is still here. Ult misses onto Ala, but Ala, he'd have to flash forward with an ult to get the wave play here. There are 5 grubs. There is a Ziggs. This is going to be an turret. I mean, this...
blade picked up. So Shanks' ADHD will now be dealt with.
I never heard of it referred to as a fidget spinner before, but it is just
Look
wonderful.
At it. Look at it.
Knight, come on. Gets his back cancels, has to blow his ult as well. Knight is now behind a ridiculous amount of gold to Shanks. That's a win condition. You know, AL, credit to them. While they did lose out on multiple turrets on the top side, getting that kind of lead over to Tristana, even though it is a nerfed Tristana, is still going to be Shanks in a position to carry this game. He's not done that very well in the Ascension group overall, but, you know, BLG, they're not in a perfect form themselves. Shanks is definitely in a competition where you could bust a shot, a Gnar away from the fight, do the same to someone like Sejuani in a dangerous position. And if it ever gets access now to a very anemic Yone, or even on top of the Ziggs, who's not going to be safe if Tristana is anywhere near him, that could be a win condition for AL.
I mean, it really could. And I think, for me, Allah has come in and had some really, really big games. Don't get me wrong. I definitely think that there are many players on this roster worthy of note. And I think Croco recently has really stepped up. But Shanks, for me, has been the... I think he was the reason at the start of the split that this team looked so good down in Group D.
He was one of the very best Tristana Corkies. He really slotted well into that.
Honestly. And I think he's been so consistent across the split as well that he really, to me, is the reason that this team has been so consistently so good. But now, pushed against the ropes, and it feels like BLG, just on these macro decisions, are just kind of taking over the map. Despite Knight getting caught out and getting chunked multiple times, he's only died once. He is behind because of how many kills Shanks has got, but BLG as a team are not behind. Allah forced to flash on the bottom side.
Allah is playing like the least voltage cannon that I've ever seen. He's got towards the Leandries, but he's never giving himself anything. That's a big set of ults.
Safety cannon goes in, but the lightning is not enough. On walks away, and Kyle can't be so lucky. Gromp used as a way out there for Knight. Jumps to the back of it, and we'll take that Gromp as a reward, but maybe he's overstepped for this one. Trigger seed from Daisy. Will not be enough. I think Knight got it, but he has to flash away. Croco finds a route. Knight is overstepped, and On might just pay for it as Hope tries to chase him down. There is no tower to run to. On needs to find an anchor. He's just ever so slightly too short, and in the meantime, Shanks has taken a tower midnight. Try to recall, won't get away with it. Allah finds him on the other side of the wall.
What is
all
happening?
for a Gromp. All for a Gromp.
Oh, that's on Gromp, man. Orcs would be proud. Jesus Christ, BLG! What are you doing? Overstaying for a Gromp kill? That's egregious even by their standards. AL have a gold lead. Tristana was pinging around to a lower gold lead because Knight managed to get that out of turret, but now Shanks is completely happy again. Where do you even start with this? This is after the huge fiesta of tower taking was put in, and Kyle gets everyone under turret. Allah doesn't even need to have a flash to bring everyone into that play. Turnaround damage is good, but then, yeah, Knight has to immediately get out of dodge. This is where the problem comes in. Waiting like this is the problem. You just have to back off, folks. Like, Daisy gets the slow in as well. On cancels the recall. Knight has the flash. This is just an absolute overstay where BLG, well, not for once. BLG have been doing more and more of this, where they really do just disrespect. The brush over the wall gives the vision, the recall lands, and obviously that's a kill there. But BLG have been super disrespectful for how teams can slap them back in this split.
He didn't even get the Gromp, lads. He didn't even get the Gromp. Was it worth it, Knight? I don't think so, buddy. I think they could have walked away with that one. As we're zooming in onto Croco, he's going to go for the recall. Dunks it. Beautiful bit of basketball on my screen right there. I know all about that sport. I've been watching the Olympics, you know.
Funnily enough, I bought a basketball recently because I don't have one out here in Germany. I have one back in my parents' place back in the UK, but I thought, you know what? There's a basketball place near enough to me as the Ballsplatz. And I thought I'd go try that at some point. So maybe you'll see me dunking with those long. I'll learn to extend my limbs even more. Anyway, drag is up in 10 seconds, and we'll see whether the dunk can happen on that particular court. As Daisy, look, I don't like Daisy macro in the LPL. Losing a Daisy like this is actually not very good. That was a freebie.
Yes, it was. And suddenly Croco is half the champion. Luckily, Shanks is about 3 champions at this point in the game. Unfortunately, though, Drake is pretty much already dead. So BLG will grab themselves the neutral pretty much as a freebie. However, AL want to give some kind of cost there by pressuring onto the mid-tier tier 2, sorry. It won't happen. Bin TP's in behind them, looking for that Gnar ulti. Hope caught by the depth charge. Allah uses the slicing maelstrom. just as a disengage tool. BLG, you know, they're not fans of the lightning, it seems.
No, they're not. They want things particularly grounded in this one. Ala using that as a defensive ult to try and stop any follow-up to the Nautilus ult. It looks a little awkward on the moment there, but I think that is actually the right choice. BLG, the best way to frame this team, and this is as polite as I can put it in this split, they are improvisers. Now, what that means is often they haven't done their legwork on the structure, but they're still very good players and they can make use of the random tools they give themselves in these games. But when it comes to moments like that, when you're very quickly moving between pieces of the map, BLG is still very, very threatening, so AL need to be very careful of that. As it stands now, though, Elk is actually even in gold.
I know you want to talk about League of Legends right now, but we've got to shout out Chairman Shan in chat because he just wrote the phrase, anyone's LeBron for Croco. Slam dunk it on the Ivan. That might be the best Twitch message I've seen all fucking year. That is absolutely amazing.
Holy crap, that's wonderful. This is one of the great things about, so good to break the fourth wall here as well. It has been so fantastic getting to cast in a slightly different way here on the streams as well. This will be the last time that we're doing this in this sense for this year. We'll see whether it goes to 3 games and we get another game out of it, but for now, we're going to enjoy ourselves with the chains taken off.
Niall gets a 3-man ulti, but there's nothing following up. Knight gets the knock up, the bomb comes in. Doesn't feel like either team has enough damage, or the shield comes through. The burn won't be there. Bin is just pushing in the meantime.
Again, PLG, they just vibe, they just improvise. Whatever, Bin's just in a side lane. I feel like BLG are one of those, they're one of those teams, I think Weibo were like this with Light last year, where the rest of the team is just flipping, and there's just this one poor kind of like parent archetype in the team sat there going, I'll stabilize the game, you've been flipping. That's a really good trade there from Bin, and stopped Ala from having a good flank angle, I suppose, by chunking him out. You know, but Bin has just been this guy that's just picked up the backpack side and said, okay, I'll make things all right again. That has been his job on BLG. He's the one guy who's not really given into the madness nearly as much as the rest of the team.
GG on EDG, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
On, gonna try and face check in here. This feels kind of tense considering how the early game felt a little one-sided towards BLG, aside from Shanks. Things have evened up. AD carries are basically even at this point. Shanks is still monstrously ahead. But Ala as well, with his Leandry's finished, he is getting closer to being the true lightning rat that we all know and love. You know, he refused the Thunderstone. He's still going to be the Pikachu as opposed to the Raichu. But that won't stop him casting Thunderwave and paralyzing the enemy.
Stuff like that, yeah. But is he that first Pokemon you joined at Stardew January? Is he at the level 88?
Yes, he is! The Thunderstone was used after all! They evolve and take down the knight in shining armor. Or maybe they aren't not so shiny anymore. AL move to the Baron once again.
It's another ward. That gets them killed. AL, they've used a lot of their engage tools now, though. What can BLG do as a response?
Kyle over the wall, gets 3. AL, health bars are pretty low, and Bin slams into the wall. Kyle will fall. Ala will go as well as a beautiful bomb comes through from Elk, and Croco caught on the bottom side. Wei will stop his escape. They stop messing around.
It is just like we said, BLG, they can flip as much as they want. Who do they turn to when they need the game back to a semblance of normalcy? It is Bin. Bin carries that fight, and Bin gets a huge amount of gold. He is now the gold lead for BLG. Yep. The Baron's going to give him even more room to carry with that too. AL, they just gave over a Baron to a 5 grub, 2,000 gold lead. Nar at this point. Kyle gets into the backline, and that's fine, but you don't have that much follow-up now. You don't have the Kaiser ultimate. Shanks is too low HP, and Bin, he is tanked enough now. Even as the Starix, he is never in danger at any point here. Fantastic flash. Bin is he is that guy. He is him. He is the guy where, when everything's been flipped, he will still be the carry.
That's my goat right there. Bin in the top side, absolutely monstering this game. Elk, great damage in that fight as well. And I just want to say, BLG, that is the best they've looked all game, and it's when they're 4v5 and Knight isn't a part of the picture. Knight is the problem, everyone. Knight is the problem.
It's a night and day difference, you could say. Dragon started up now. AL, can they find themselves a better team fight than that last one? That will be the task. Bin getting up to Meganar, potentially teleporting back in.
Would be the third Drake for AL if they can find the smite. Croco trying to stay in the area. He's got vision. Daisy is making sure of that. 2K on the Drake. We're just going to 50-50 this one as Croco steps back in and he gets the smite. But unfortunately, a bomb on top of his head as well. And they just don't have the health bars to stick around in front of BLG here. It's one. Onto Kyle, Ala looking for the re-engage and on goes down. Croco's so low on HP. Ala has to turn golden just to survive here, but I don't even know if that'll be enough. Knight dips in and out as Elk finds a bonus on the back of the fight.
Elk is getting ridiculous damage out of this Ziggs. AL are not closing down the backline that effectively, and Elk has, of course, even brought himself up that Morale and Armicon, which cuts some of the healing coming through from Croco. This has been a little bit less of a slam dunk fight from BLG. Hope does have that double if it hits. He could ult forwards, but Elk is wise to that one. AL walk away with Soul Point. That is important. It will definitely help the survivability of this team, which will help with, of course, all of the extra items and shielding, which Croco will be using to defend his team. Bin comes into the play, but he doesn't have the flash this time. It's much harder for him to get into that backline, and this is a much better front-to-back from AL in some ways. By the way, Ivan getting a smite steal is just not a very common thing. He has no extra ability to aid his smite like a Maokai Q or the Sejuani E or something like that. So that's a great smite from Croco. And they do manage to get themselves a decent front-to-back, but while all this is happening, they're still going into a choke point versus a Ziggs. That is not very healthy for them. And the last bomb over here somehow skips onto Croco, who misjudges that one and goes down.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Elk actually tried to time that for Ala's Zhonya's finishing, but did it slightly too early, and so it bounces through, and then it ends up landing on Croco, which is absolutely hilarious. This game went from quite a quiet early game, realistically, to an absolute banger in these fights. This has been such a silly game from both teams. Remember, seeding is on the line here. BLG, we kind of wanted to see them looking clean today.
Teleport.
They looked clean in the first game. Ala wants to stop that being the case in the second. Elk is found. That's a huge shutdown for Ala. Hope has the damage to bring down. AL's carries are very much online.
They're online. Got a 2,000 gold lead. And just watches just the kill feed on the right-hand side of the screen just go to hell on the other side. Got Shanks, who's still sat here on a good gold lead. I will say, I don't think Shanks has been able to leverage his gold lead that much. Part of that is the nature of the team fights. It's quite hard for him to jump forwards into a lot of immediate CC from Sejuani, Yone, Meganar, the Satchel, and the Nautilus as well. So it's hard for him to find a gap there, but still, BLG need to be very careful of letting him into the next couple of fights. If you misuse your CC and you don't close down that Tristana, she will be putting out an absolute ton of damage.
I'm just going to say, Bin needs a hull breaker stat. Like, the man needs to just get in a side lane and get some towers down. I feel like that's the only way at this point. That's not really true. Honestly, the team fight is kind of terrifying. If BLG actually group up and team fight, like the Gnarl into Elk's bomb. Look at Elk's items, man. He's 1,000 gold away from finishing a death cap. Like, that bomb is going to literally one-shot carries if you can just lock them up for long enough for it to hit. Elk is a problem, but only if he doesn't get caught out. And in that previous play, he was the one caught out and flanked by Ala.
So what you're saying is we're now at an afternoon showing of Elkenheimer, as we'll see exactly how much explosives he can put into this research project. The
was that a pre-written line, or did you think of that?
No, I just thought that's a thing. Occasionally my brain comes up with it. Thank you.
Love that one. Please bring that into a real cast.
This isn't real enough for you. We will definitely see more of Elk Zig, so I'm sure we'll have that at some point in the future. He's going to have so much damage here. And AL, they do have the Zhonya's on Ala. I think we haven't seen as much Zhonya's Kennen play in this iteration of Kennen, because he's been much more about the burst. However, when we've seen the last couple of games today, even with the Rumble and the Cannon, what this allows you to do is play as a temporary frontline. And when you have the Ivern, which that then allows you to survive around to the second round of shield, it means you actually can be a little bit of a frontline despite not having HP and huge tank stats. Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds. That might be the difference. AL, they want a front-to-back fight. They want to make sure that they can play behind these big zone control.
Bit of a zap onto on there from Nikolai Teslale. I've kind of brute forced that one a little bit. It's
That's pretty good, actually.
Killian Murph Kale trying to finally engage as well.
No!
Okay, hook onto Hope. That's the combo from Knight as well. It's all looked terrible all game from BLG, and they just find it at the perfect moments, don't they? They did it for the Baron, and they're doing it again for Drake, but hang on. Croco's not done, and Shanks ain't done either. On with a bomb. Oh, but the ult doesn't knock it into the team. That's a double still for Shanks, and he gets the resets as Croco trying to find the route. Doesn't quite find his target, though. Shanks is so huge, but just can't keep going forward.
That should give them soul. Either way, that should be soul. Bin can recall and he can teleport into the play. He might be able to stop them doing something, and indeed that's what he's doing. Arla, he doesn't have teleport himself just yet, so he won't be able to regen. I actually think this comes down to a fight now. Shanks, he might have been a little bit late to start up this dragon. Bin is back.
Bin on the flank, Shanks trying to escape. I think he wins the 1v1 though his way, dives in the mix as well. Shanks looking for Bin, but denied by Elk's bombs, thrown backwards, might be finished off, but still going strong. Elk finally finishes the kill as Ala tries to get onto the rat, but it goes 1-for-1. Croco's here with the smite. Bin is about to turn mega though. This could be the opportunity if he has the hop available. Knight moves into the mix as well. Croco has to be denied. He's got the smite available. Bin trying to burst the Drake as Croco wants to move in. Bin is going to zone him as Knight tries to finish the Drake. Kyle moves in as well. Who gets it? It's Hope of all people. And that is a Mountain Soul. Hope over the wall, but the bomb's coming on through still. Redemption won't land. Oh my lord, what did I just watch?
You just watched absolute cinema. I don't know what the hell the actual implications of this are going to be, but Mountain Soul going up to AL, so they have the shields on top of their shields with no Serpent's Fang to be seen on the side of BLG is going to be a huge issue. BLG, their first combo does a hell of a lot of damage, but I don't know if it's going to be enough now. We even saw Hope. It takes such a long time to die in that first initial engage that I'm worried if BLG will even have the damage. AL, they might be forcing us to a third game off the back of this Yordle in the mid lane, but they've just given up a pick and river.
Great hook on Croco. And that's the jungler down for AL. BLG arrive in the nick of time. Flash over from Kyle to survive. It's 4v5 on the map right now for BLG with jungle advantage. Should be able to move to the Baron, but Way has overstepped for the red buff potentially. Maybe it's Kyle that's overstepped. I don't know what's going on anymore.
BLG might have just clutched out this play. Croco should never in a million years be stood up alone in that topside river with no damage behind you. I don't care if Kyle's there. He's not going to save you by damaging the enemy team. So Baron goes down despite AL having that Mountain Soul and having great positioning on the map after that last play. God damn, what the hell happened here? I'm worried about what's going to happen with this feature combo. Hope gets caught out by a hook. On has been very accurate with these this game, but look how long it takes him to die. That's 2-3 ultimates because the Yone ult does end up going a little bit wide there. Arla gets a good zoning play, and then Shanks finally gets himself ability to jump forward. We said it's quite hard for the Tristana to play in a lot of these fights because there's so much immediate CC. He tries to flash out of what he thinks is going to be a hook coming out of on there, I think. So I think that's a pretty okay reaction play from him. He kind of would have needed that timing. Things just go off the rails at this point, though, because everyone has so much damage, particularly because Bin is so fed and Elk is too. It just becomes about who can mechanically outplay.
Yeah, Shanks doing absolutely everything he can in this one. The shields from Croco. This is what we were talking about, the combo of Tristana alongside the Ivan later on in the game. It's just so hard to deal with. Look at the gold lead for Shanks. It's the only gold lead on the map for AL, but it's 4K individual lead for Shanks overnight.
So the spectator is hovering over these wards.
Wait,
why is that? It's because Arla has a teleport. He is a level 16 cannon. He has the Mountain Soul.
Look at that ward.
More towards that. There is a lot of ability for him to get towards this flank, but he's not pulling the trigger right now. Maybe afraid that his team couldn't follow up.
He wants them to overcommit. He wants them to be really locked into the play, I think, but he's joined his team. BLG, in the meantime, though, while AL refused to make a decision on the flank, they lose their entire base. I mean, Ziggs works so well with the Baron buff. Like, the towers are gone in seconds.
He's got a death cap. Like, this dude is so strong. You know that one picture? Again, it's Elkenheimer. He's got the hat that he had and everything, too. He's got the same kind of trilby.
That shot of Killian Murphy looking harrowed right now. That's us when we see this next team fight.
You know, we said we might have set off a chain reaction to destroy the Nexus. I think we just did. He's going towards even like a last needlessly large item at the rod item at the end, too, because If you look at the magic resist over the whole team of AL, it's not really there. They will have some from the 2 Mountain Dragons, and then of course their base magic resist per level as well. But on the whole, Elk is going to be hitting like a goddamn truck. He buys up his Zhonya's, and a reminder that the Zhonya's, it's not a low damage item anymore. It still gives you 100 AP. It's still a huge amount of AP compared to what it was before. It used to give you something like 70 back then, before in the mythic item kind of patch. He is so strong. If that combo comes through onto the right targets, Elk is going to one-shot.
As you say, Elk will hit like a truck. And the T1 players in their facility in South Korea feel a chill down their spine as the word truck is used. But my goodness, I mean, this is just such a good comp at using the Baron buff, at pressuring onto the enemy base. And it feels so hard to defend. Honestly, for AL, they're doing their best. And it does feel like BLG are playing with some serious respect here to not overstep their mark and not just try and overly brute force things. Bin pressuring in the top side. Baron has now timed out, but Bin has a lot of pressure just on his own.
But look what's happening here. AL need to not just defend their tower. They need to stop Elk getting within satchel range because it's insta-kill. That's why BLG were being pushed so hard in mid lane, because it was an instant kill range. Bin taking down that top lane slowly but surely as well. The 5 grubs make this so easy.
Half an inhib in one auto. Half an inhib from one proc of the passive from Elk there. Satchel onto Kyle, but he actually sidesteps it in the end, and I don't think Elk will get in range again. Hope manages to dodge the bomb. I kind of wanted that one to hit just so we get a tester to see quite how much that'll do.
Yeah, we need ourselves the Trinity test here in this game, is what you're saying. As Knight going forwards doesn't find himself that much. I think BLG find themselves in a really awkward spot where none of their champions can build a Serpent's Fang. There's a Mountain Soul and there's an Ivern, and there's like probably like a Locket coming through at some point for KL maybe too. We saw the other day, I think it was Hope himself that built Jin with Shiv Serpent's Fang into a Jin. He actually had a very strong game out of that. It can really nullify what that wants to do. It's just not available here. It's one of it's also a similar conversation to how stuff like Leona is so poor versus Ashe because she doesn't want to build a McHale's. Similar kind of thing here. AL, they are going to get full value out of these shields, and we've got 20 seconds and seconds until that Elder. They have been pushed in. They have lost that bot lane inhib. They still might be able to clutch this out around an Elder. It's not the best terrain for BLG. Blue side dragons are notoriously hard to do because you can just be stuck in the pit.
Bin is trying to get some pressure on the top side. He's pushing these waves as fast as he physically can. The Daisy, though, just being sort of 1v1'd here isn't ideal. Okay, does manage to despawn it. And Elder has spawned. Daisy is still a part of the play. Wei has to make a miracle smite happen. He's just going to try and blast code in from the top side. Goes in sideways, but Buster shotted back out. AL get themselves Elder Dragon PLT, try and end in the base. On and Wei, disrupting recalls as fast as they physically can, but Elk is in the base as well. The Ziggs does so much, but Bin escapes. Knight having to escape as well, as Elk is going to try and TP, but the bomb is enough, and he goes down. Oh my lord, AL have actually done it, haven't they? AL have got an Elder, and they might just find game 3.
Do they have any minions? They're killing a wave in mid lane. It's 50 seconds on most of the wave clear from BLG. 30 seconds for Wei, and on. The Elder will still be active when the time they come up. They're trying to brute force run it through with no minion tower debuff. They're trying to get themselves at least an inhib. How much more can they get? I don't know if they can end.
They have so many shields to work with. It might just work. They've still got 30 seconds until carries come up. It'll be on and Wei that spawn first. And the minion wave has nearly arrived. There are no TPs to keep the wave alive, but just Daisy alone is tanking for long enough. I think they might just do it right here. Forget absolute cinema. It's absolute shenanigans here as BLG are going to fall in game number 2 and AL make a miracle come true. Here, live on your screens, Nexus falls, and AL bring us to 3.
We go to a game 3 between BLG and Anyone's Legend. We missed game 1 because it was so quick from BLG, but this is our problem with our current reigning champions of the LPL. They do just sometimes flip it in a full best of 3. They go to 3 games so often for a top team, and Anyone's Legend, a team which we've had very varied expectations of, can't make it happen, folks. Welcome back. We dashed straight back into that game. God, do I need a drink after that one. Don't know how strong it will need to be, but God, I'm going to need to get myself at least some hydration. Jesus.
That was I don't even have words for what that was. That was BLG. That was BLG is what it was. AL managed to punish them in the end. Some happy gaming, to say the very least, from BLG. But to be fair, it felt like the longer that went on, the harder it was to get through these Ivan shields. And AL did a tremendous job of defending as well as they did. Like, a lesser team would have fallen.
Yeah, I think, genuinely, not having a champion that really wants to build a Serpent's Fang really screwed BLG. You don't have, well, Elk's not going to buy it because he's the frickin' Ziggs, and AP champions don't have an anti-shield item, and even Shadow Flame, back when it technically was an anti-shield item, wasn't really. The Yone wants to go towards tankier stuff later on, and Bin was going towards tanky stuff too. I think that really ended up hurting them. They tried to out-macro around the Elder, but they were slow to the Dragon, they were slow to the base, and then they end up losing a load of kills and not stopping the backs effectively. So AL, credit to them, they out-macro BLG at the end, despite an absolute fiesta of a game, and there is no other way you can describe that.
No, that was something else. The decision-making at the end there from BLG to try and just end the game and hope that Wait and On could delay the recalls long enough. It wasn't quite enough. Minion wave wasn't there in time, and I mean, Elk was doing his damnedest, wasn't he? Elk was doing some serious damage. Yeah. Knight did not have a good game. It has to be said, Knight had so many awkward moments, especially early on. If Knight just does less, honestly, in this game, I think it's a BLG win.
Yeah, I'm sad for Bin, particularly. I think that Bin was the one dude who was sat there like, well, I'm just gonna like try and flop in this game too, and we'll see whether we get a return to that. We will bring that to the mainstream at some point. That is too good of a reference to throw out. And again, I'm gonna go quickly get myself a coffee. I know there's the player the blah 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 MVP coming up at some point, but I just need to very quickly give myself some goddamn caffeine. So I'll be back in just a second, folks. Holy crap. Oh.
All right, it's just you and me, chat. I don't know about you guys, but I'm warm. It is a hot day here in the UK. And that's some damage from Shanks. I don't know what the number is, but it's got to be pretty big because Ala's on 30k. That's got to be like 40, 50k damage out from Shanks. Contending with Elk. Elk, literally the only one on his team doing some damage for BLG. Honestly, Knight had a bit of a stinker on a Yone, like bit of a stinker. Elk was, do you know what? I'm gonna eat the rest of this bacon sandwich that my loving wife delivered to me, and you guys can watch me eat in silence. That's how we do it. HB sauce because I'm British as fuck. This tastes almost as good as that bin flash Q did.
Did we get MVP or are we still highlights? Holy crap, man.
Me and chat are eating my bacon sandwich together.
Nice. Oh man, you know what? One of the things I really miss about so I went to Sheffield Uni, and just outside the physics building, there was like a bacon roll van, which was so good, man. It's like two quid for, you know, a coffee and a bacon or a sausage roll or something like that. It wasn't even that more expensive to get a best bacon, egg, sausage, tomato. Absolutely banger. Like, they made an absolute killing out of 9 AM lectures of people who... really higher points too, which means that it ends up being kind of like Floridian heat at the very worst case scenario, but like on the same kind of like level as Moscow. Shanks MVP, yeah, had to be really, didn't it? No surprise there.
Yeah. I think anyone else getting MVP here would have been criminal, to be honest.
I mean, nah.
Argument for Croco, but Ivan just running in and Daisy just running in and dying fight after fight. Maybe not.
Yeah. No, I think Croco also just got caught out a couple of really key moments where Shanks actually, when the carrying was asked of him, actually delivered, which is really important because he's not done that a lot in the Ascension stage. And I guess versus BLG, who are inconsistent as hell, but hey, I mean, it is worth celebrating. It is worth celebrating.
I have a question.
Yep.
Was Yagao all of the macro for BLG? Was he like 100% of the macro play for the team? Because I feel like the way that the way that they play now versus the way they played with the roster with Yagao on, it's a very different team. It's a very, very different approach to the game. I feel like they just try and lane gap now and just snowball as opposed to like... I mean, they had some good macro plays this game as well, but they also had some pretty dicey
losing
stuff going
Tabe
on.
is also a big thing as well. But then again, I guess that's... Yeah. The thing is, for me, like, you can't make the excuse of, oh, it's just the AP jungle meta or something like that. They were playing... The first series of the year they played with shit like Brand. They've been playing Brand the entire year, longer than anyone else. They were the first team to pick up the Brand jungle. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's happened with that, because I think, much like T1, I think that BLG have struggled because they don't have as consistent lane gaps as they had before, because they were consistently lane gapping. They're not doing that now. I think Elkanon, they don't have their kill lanes, which was a huge part of their style, because basically what they ended up doing when they were at their best was playing around like kill lanes, always path bot, use that as a locus of power, go into the bot jungle or dive or zone off bot lane from turret. You have like multiple options there, but it all starts with bot lane pressure really, and that's when we were considering Elkanon maybe the best lane in the world. Obviously I think that has now very much changed in our perception of them. And I think when they've not been playing towards kill lanes and pressure bot lanes, they've really struggled. And I think the problem with that is you have Bin in topside, who is a fantastic character to play around. There have been moments where I've trusted Elkanon to play weak side, but they've been few and far between. Even in this game, you know, the first time that On leaves Elk alone, he dies in bot lane after getting those huge trades in bot lane. Like, he goes up towards Grubs and they 2v1 him a bot, and Elk just dies randomly. That's not really acceptable in this kind of game.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I want to do some sports wearing leaning gear now.
I mean, I do have... I've got the JDG and BLG jerseys from leaning. I got them, but...
Yeah, but I want a snowboard and some yoga kit. And speaking of that, actually, I think maybe I need a new phone and a tablet. And a beret.
The adverts for you're not immune to advertising, Joe. You are not immune to advertising.
Maybe a new modem, actually, for my guitar.
Yeah.
And I might just get a hat and a camera.
Yeah. I mean, I have my guitar. I have a guitar bag. So
I feel like going on jindong.com.
Do you feel like getting gamer supplements as well? Do you like gamer subs?
I tell you what, I like milk. I don't know why this is an LPL sponsor. This makes me laugh so much. I just love... I had this in China. It is literally like flavored milk.
I'm down with that. I like milk.
I mean, it's nice. It's nice.
Is it lactose free?
No. I just
I think like it's only really Northern Europe which is like not got problems with lactose. I just kind of assume that all dairy-based products elsewhere are lactose free because it's a big problem. Oh yeah, how much have you been doing on Swarm, by the way?
Not as much recently, but I've just not had that much time to play games recently. Yeah. One thing I will say, just on the milk topic, those little cartons, like, full of milk, I love that they always have them on the LPL caster desk as, like, a product placement. Like, you know that's an empty carton, because the amount of time that singular carton of milk has been sat on that desk, it would have exploded by now. Like, can you imagine you're there casting halfway through the day, suddenly the milk explodes in front of you?
But the thing is, like, whenever milk gets on clothes as well, like, you immediately have to wash them, otherwise that shit is so bad if you're sitting there in the heat and stuff. Oh god, it's just the worst. Is there any bassist in professional league? I mean, it's not that difficult compared to guitar. I say controversially. I don't know. I mean, we're both guitarists. There's a million guitarists out there. I know Hip Brain's a drummer.
I played bass once.
Really?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I can play Hysteria by Muse, and that's like my party trick by that. But yeah, that's like the cool bass line they have. Right, I'm gonna go get my coffee from the other room. I gotta get that. I also think I might need to run another ad break because I was only the short regular ad one. We've got 28 minutes free now. I don't know how many pauses we've got. That might be not enough. I shall see. Anyway, I'm gonna go quickly get my coffee and I'll be back.
The one baseline I can do is the one from Fleetwood Mac's The Chain, the one off of F1. It's very easy. It sounds cool as fuck. You know what? I think I'm actually going to be right back. I'm going to get some more water. I might get a cold drink, honestly, because I'm boiling. I'm just going to BRB, so you're going to have to take the first bit of draft.
Okay, right. 27 minutes. I don't know how many pauses we've got. Oh god, if it goes hyper late gaming might be an issue. I might like run a 1 minute. I don't fucking know. I don't know how long that is. We're getting into draft like super soon. Might have mistimed that by putting the because you can't run your manual ads once the auto ads have gone on, and that might be something we contend with at some point. So going into game 3 of this draft, and we'll see exactly how much we can do about this third game. I mean, BLG, that second game was a mess, but the first game was very, very dominant. So, bans coming through for both these teams. The Ashe, the Leona, the Tristana on one side, the Rumble, the Lucian on the other. Lilia up and available as it stands. What else have we got in terms of those power picks? Tristana, of course, was really important for Shanks. We've already mentioned that being banned. And now the cannon also being taken away as well. We did actually see AL try to counter the Bin cannon earlier with a Corky top lane. That didn't work out especially well for them. And Bin gets himself that Renekton. Very powerful blind pick in that top side. It has been kind of the flavor of the month LPL pick for that top lane. It's so dominant in that early lane, and Ala will have to find some way to deal with it. We have seen some people just concede the lane and pick something like a Cassante to try and get some value from it. You can go towards Ala's Jax as well. The Jax Renekton matchup is one of the longest standing in top lane history from over 10 years in this game, despite the very different iterations of this team. Sejuani, very, very powerful pick as well between both these teams. Croco, sort of answered the Sejuani hard engage. Lilia, very, very powerful magic damage dealer as well. So I'm getting ourselves into the second part of this draft for BLG. The Lily was the easy lock-in. Does fine in terms of that magic damage. What will Knight go towards? Will he go back towards that Yone? He's been struggling on it a little bit recently. Could still be the answer for them in that mid lane. AL, they have themselves that Cork, technically a flex pick for them now, but it should still be into that mid lane. All the same, expecting something to come through from that mid lane, but no, going to lean on Knight's champion pool a little bit more. A lot of those mid lane champions been banned out already, expecting more of them to come through later. And instead, it's the Misfortune. El can play very, very lane dominant with that. So what do we see here from anyone's Legends? Ezreal, notably still up and available as well. They could also go towards something which can survive that Renekton matchup. Bin on Renekton is very lane dominant with this, so they lock towards something that can answer, or at least survive or answer that. They were thinking about the Cassante, which have been conceding the lane but impacting team fights. The Jax can do better in the early game if you get some resources. You expect the Renekton to win in isolation, but Arla's Jax is not quite the level maybe of Bin's Jax, which is of course legendary in its own right, but still notable. Probably I would say maybe even the second best Jax within the LPL. And it will combo up with that Sejuani as well for the melee synergy up there. Topside early skirmish is already looking quite spicy between the Renekton Lilia and that Jax Sejuani. Into the second round, not in fact banning out any of the mid laners, instead banning out some of the combinations with that Misfortune. Some magic damage banned away from anyone's Legends now as well. That Zig's going to be taken away from Hope, and potentially going to remove that Kai'Sa as well if BLG would like to kind of force anyone's Legend into an all AD composition. Another one of those combos taken away from On. So BLG, they're probably looking towards the Rel now. Very little ability to kind of play through the bigger AoE combos in terms of that support role. So the Rel, the last really hard engage option left on the table. Wouldn't surprise me to lock that into for Kyle. It would mean you have a lot better teamfight engage.
I was just thinking the exact same thing.
Wonderful. Just say that we've got a lot of our engage options now off the table because of the second round bans. I'm kind of surprised that Knight wasn't banned out more, but honestly, with Shanks' last game, I honestly don't mind letting him have something like that Yone if he's going towards it, because he didn't have a great game on it the last time either.
Agreed. I've just got myself a can of iron brew, which is made from girders, for anyone that doesn't know. So I'm charged up and ready to go for the last game. I've got to say, I like the... I'm not a big fan of Renekton first pick, but when it's Bin,
yeah,
I like it. I feel like Bin's like, look, guys, don't give me an R, give me something I can actually carry this game on, because you're all so heavy. I need some more power behind me.
You know, funnily enough, I think that Renekton can really be allowed this pick. Bin's one of them. You got 369. I think Arla and Breathe have shown some value out of it as well, but even then, that can be sporadic for some players like that too. Last pick coming in from AL. I'm so surprised they didn't take away Rel on 4. Like, it was so obvious that was going to come in, but they're looking towards that Maokai, which means they have a decent amount of their own synergy now with the engages.
They've got a lot of disengage for AL as well, right? With the Maokai, plus this is Sejuani, everyone always thinks of as an engage tool, but can be a fantastic disengage tool as well. So AL can potentially try and play this at range with the Ezreal and Corki. But Ala, you know he's going to be looking for the flanks. He does it every single game, and he's on his Jax. That top lane matchup is going to be a bit of a banger. Renekton versus Jax, Bin versus Ala. It was always going to be good. I don't know if we've mentioned this on the cast so far as well, but it's literally Tabe's most successful team versus his current team that's like evolved since he joined the roster. So exciting times to see if Tabe can for this one. I've lost the plot in terms of trying to analyze anything here, guys. It is at this point just it's vibes, it's memes, and I feel like there's a reasonable chance that's where the teams are at as well, because this is game number 3 in the series. I imagine it's just as hot over there, although I know that they do have good aircon in the arena, because I've been there. I've been in that arena. I sat on that seat first in from the left on the first in from the right on the left segment on the front row. That's where I sat. It was very exciting. And it was lovely and cool. And actually, I could barely see the screen because I was too far forward. So I would recommend sitting at the back. You're welcome, everyone. Also, on the topic of Shanghai tourism advice, there's a bar near the Bund called the Captain. It's fantastic, rooftop bar. You can see the skyline. It's not on the Bund, but you can kind of see the Bund from it. Oh, fantastic. Highly recommend it there. Great Long Island iced tea.
Doesn't Rookie also have a restaurant in Shanghai as well? I seem to remember him opening up one and something like that. We could see a bit of cooking in the bot side, but nothing too much yet. Maokai, Ezreal, pretty good at poking out. Not the best bot lane in terms of lane domination. However, getting poked like that does help you quite a lot at the early levels. The Misfortune makes its way through the draft. It has been very flavor of the month here in LPL. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm sure we'll cover that at some point, but the laning is one of those big points. Getting the sapling poke off, though, does help Hope and Kyle survive this early lane.
On doing a good job to try and soak these saplings while his shield is up as Knight and Shanks trade aggressively. This bloody Zeri mid lane. I'm not a fan of it. Not really a fan of Zeri in general, but I feel like we saw it from Rookie earlier on. Couldn't quite be that big team fight tool. We'll see if Knight can have a better performance here. As Ben hits that level 2 and punishes Ala immediately.
And worth noting, so Rookie played his first Zeri game mid lane earlier today. He lost with that one. Yeah, he did. I was trying to remember if he ended up winning that one. But Knight, this is his second game of the Zeri. He lost his first game, and he had a KDA of 1.5. So fair to say, not necessarily his comfort. No, weirdly, in the past, Knight was actually a very good ADC mid player. Like I'm talking years ago, he was actually a very good Corki mid player back then, before it kind of changed back over to the AP version and then blah, blah, blah. I don't think Knight has been very good at the ADC mids at all. I think that has been a real problem for him, and I think that, for me, I think BLG in some ways have some issues not dissimilar to NIP as well. Like, you know, they both actually had both late replacements of junglers in the split because of varying levels of form. But I also think that they've struggled how to find themselves a new identity after Spring and after MSI. I think Knight looked so much better on the majors, like the Talir, like the Ahri, Aurelion, Sol, maybe less so on that one. That was more of a rookie pick. But I much preferred him on stuff like that rather than the ADC mids, because it feels like he's really struggling to playmate in the way he did before. And BLG, now lacking playmaking from mid lane and struggling how to balance the map in terms of should they focus top side and leave bot lane on weak side because they've struggled with that, or the opposite way around, and maybe struggling to play kill lanes the same way. BLG have really struggled to find an identity.
They tried changing their jungler as well to see if that would fix anything. To be honest, doesn't really feel like it's changed that much for me, really. I feel like they are still a very similar team to what they were before. Bin has just used his slice and dice as Croco walks into the lane. I mean, that is as easy as you like for AL Ala getting first blood.
And Wei uses his time to go into the enemy jungle and spot out the second respawn of Raptors. They might have overstaged now. Bin does have flash. You can go through the wave and get the non-empowered stun. In fact, I think he might just do that. Wei's looking forward to it.
Maybe Croco the target instead. And Bin gonna zone him towards the tower. Gets the stun with the flash to make sure that Wei can be a part of it. So both top laners now with a kill. Bin moves back into the top lane and is going to try and freeze this wave for as long as he can. Holds it out of the tower wave, and now Ala in a really rough spot where he has to go for that recall and try and contend.
Yeah, so he's going to teleport back in, but he's going to lose an entire wave pretty much before he gets there, because there were, what, 6 ranged creeps and a cannon. That's so much DPS from the wave, which means that a lot of those extra minions are going to die, and you can see that basically the whole wave dies before Ala can even come back in. Bin will get himself the cannon. The observers would absolutely tell us if he missed it. Don't you worry about that. They are absolutely locked in on that fact. So at least something reclaimed from BLG. Croco now going down potentially towards bot side.
Stun comes through onto Kyle. Do you know a stat I would really love to see in the LPL? I know this is not really possible, but cannons missed that the observers didn't see.
Yep.
I wonder what their cannon miss to view ratio is for the observers in the LPL, because I bet it's damn good.
There
I
are
bet it's
LPL,
absolutely insane.
there are pro views out there. You can see their point of view, but God, I'd be watching so much tape. That'd be many hours invested into that. I mean, it'd be worth it. It would absolutely be worth it, but yeah.
No two ways about it. Bin with a really nice trade. He's level 6 over Ala's level 5 right now. His Knight actually uses his lightning crash down in the mid lane just to clear this wave away, get a good trade onto Shanks, and potentially move down towards the bottom side of the map. There was an on-the-way ping. I don't know if that was just from Elk pinging that he's going back to lane. I do find there's a lot of, like, totally useless pings in pro play. Like, Elk pinging that he's going back to his lane is, I think, surprising to absolutely nobody.
Yeah, I wonder how it is in terms of basically trying to keep comms clear and stuff, because you don't want to put... Well, hang on a second, that's a heavy trade. Hope's got to be careful there. Owie!
Big damage, and Kyle has run out of aftershock. Will walk away with his life. Nearly walked the double up into Hope there. Elk arrives, and they know that he's back. He makes it known with that BF sword.
Bin alone on top side for now. Wei has started up those grubs. There was a chance for Croc to go in. Bin is level 6, doesn't get himself the mind game on that W for the counter strike.
Bin trading heavily. Ala sets it up beautifully. The stun is going to come on through, and that is a second for Ala already. However, here comes Knight to try and clean things up. Ala the target, but he gets underneath the tower. The burn, is it enough from Wei? Not quite. And Crocker walks away too.
Ala not going to get hit by the swell seed either. Ala's Jax is up there on a similar level to Bin's Jax, one of those real famed individual picks, and Arla now getting 2 kills in this matchup, even though he's down that CS, does help him get a foot up in this lane. Eventually, Arla will get to the point where he will really start to wreck these team fights if you get on top of either Wei or Bin or someone like that. We've seen exactly how much he can do on the flank of a team fight. And this piece being added to the puzzle of Anyone's Legend was a huge point between Spring and Summer. Tabe coming in and Arla coming in was so big to give them an extra Tarry potential.
Oh, look at the combo from the bot lane of BLG. Flash forward, but Hope still escapes. Kyle will not be so lucky. That's a kill for Elk on the misfortune.
And Hope is not going to be able to claim this wave on the bot side. He's going to leave like a double stack to... Oh, Hope, that's very dangerous. He's got his E back up, should be safe, but he'll be losing a double wave here now as well. This is why the misfortune getting through the draft has been so important for BLG, because it allows BLG to play towards lane-dominant bot lanes in a way which they can't do with other picks nearly as much. Shanks will now pick up the wave which Hope has lost. It will be something for him, at least more resources for their second AD carry. Which is something for them, but Misfortune, such a powerful pick right now, can go towards the Bloodthirster, which gives her a strange interaction with the W, where she keeps her move speed even unless she gets that shield broken. Very, very powerful in terms of her range in her team fights later on with her ultimate. And considering you're playing around a lot of champions who want to be standing in that mid-range, it's going to be very, very powerful.
Kyle has flashed in the mid lane, got 2 plates for Shanks roaming down to the bottom side. It's been a tense early game, but BLG just about finding advantages.
We'll say, On and Elk have been playing these 2v2s very, very close, but On has had way better of them today than he normally has done before. I think that On has been very about the place in terms of whether his laning phase has been excellent or disastrous. Today it has been putting towards the positive, very important.
Good stuff from On, setting up for Elk's combo as well. I mean, the damage Misfortune does early on in the game, like you say, going for that Bloodthirster. It's kind of old school, isn't it? The BF sword first back.
Yeah.
It's like a long time
Season
since
3,
that was the standard. Yeah. And honestly, you know, I kind of miss that because I feel like there's an extent to which when you can buy a BF sword on your first back, it like really rewards a good start to the lane. You know, the difference between you going back and getting a couple of long swords versus a BF sword is night and day.
It's a huge thing. Crocker does have level 6. I think we've got a big fight coming through here. Another big combo.
Well, the time doesn't really quite land properly. There's a lilting lullaby and a bit of follow-up for the sleep, but Crocker just going to be tapped. Blue buff. I'm not even sure who got the blue buff, actually. Wei and Crocker both look like they don't have it.
Yeah, I don't know who got that one. I'd imagine it was one of the extra supporting
Maybe it was the bullet time, actually.
Might have been the bullet time, yeah. And I guess that's an extra little bit of something. Of course, Misfortune quite mana hungry, particularly with that Make of Rain, so I guess you'll take that. You'll take the takeaway from Croco as well on the Sejuani. Already falling behind in terms of that CS, but the extra assist is making up the difference as it stands right now. But we'll see whether he can keep up in terms of relevance to the Lilia in terms of items and gold as the game goes on. Lilia has been so goddamn strong in the LPL recently. And it was, yeah, Elcon, he has the blue buff there, so and that's him taking that one. But yeah,
so
I mean,
he's essentially got his he's got budget Bloodthirster Essence Reaver.
Yeah, already.
He's got the mana regen, he's got the health regen of the Vamp Scepter. Who needs the actual items?
Yeah. And you know, I think BLG have actually looked at their best when Elk is getting so far ahead of the game, play aggressively like this too. Croco was looking into maybe see if he can get himself a Smite Steal. He didn't have visuals on the HP of the grubs. Looks in and says, I can't stay around for that. Immediately gets out just with that Q. But it would have been nice to deny one of these. BLG getting 6 grubs. That could be a bit of an issue. We'll see how effectively they can hit towers. So now the question is, BLG, you have the 6 grubs, makes your cross map so much easier. Cross mapping with 6 grubs is very, very easy because you kill towers so quickly, and it means that you can send one person to cross map and then you can send 3, 4 to defend different lanes on the other side of the map. Bin eventually will fall behind this matchup against Arla, but he can get some plate gold to keep himself ahead of the curve just that little bit longer and make sure that envelope of time which you're playing through is a little bit larger. That's a bad ward miss.
Yeah, unlucky bot on there. As once again, Bin has gone in as Croco arrives on the top side. His reads have not been good in this side lane. Oh, he nearly turned it around there onto Ala. Ala realizes he cannot hit that wave. Wei has arrived. I wonder if Bin is like trying to set up for a long play for Wei to arrive, but
I think so. But this is the problem. Croco's now even going in and saying, all right, passive in there. He doesn't have his ultimate, but the damage Didn't see that game 1, which we know ended with disaster for AL. But in the games that we have seen, in games 2 and game 3, Bin has just not been comboed up well with Wei, and that is one of the issues you have with changing a jungle like this. Yes, Bin and Wei, they played together on RNG in that MSI win back in 2022, I believe that one was. No, it would have been 2021, rather, 21, because 22 is, of course, when Shahu went back towards... look, it was one of those years. God damn it, it was one of them. He played with that one. But he's just not comboing up very, very well in terms of the timing of the jungler being in his lane. And that has led now to what should have been a dominant laning phase with a huge gold lead being leveraged through 6 grubs, now being even with Ajax, which has a Triforce now as well. Ale is very happy.
Might be able to finish off one more plate before he kind of runs out of time on those plates, but I don't know. Somehow off a vision, Elk really getting away with that one, and that'll be a really cheeky recall because MF gets back to lane so fast with boots and with your W passive. Like, you can really be cheeky with your recalls, and he's going to get back without losing any minions.
No, it's got to the point on Knight might blow his flash here. This could be a little dangerous. No, he hops over the wall and he'll get himself that skate 3 out of there. Ale is the one who is finally in a 1v2.
Okay, sleep comes through. No way out of that one. And Bin gets the kill. Crucial there, honestly, for BLG. That Bin didn't fall too far behind the curve. Shanks will get a couple of plates in the mid lane from the play from Croco. This is very back and forth, isn't it? The way played, like we keep on
active. But now stuff like this is...
Maybe he can get under the towers and execute. I don't know, though. I think he's just going to try and clear the wave if he can. Gets the Q across. Caught by the ultimate, but on there, body blocking for his mid laner as Elk crashes a wave in the bot lane as well.
Yeah, no, credit to BLG. I was questioning about that play on top side. They actually pushed it all 3 lanes and took all 3 toes. So that's actually been working out well for them. This is what happened before this. This would have been the 1v2, that kill go down. BLG, they get themselves a huge map opening play now. How do they accelerate the game beyond this one? 15 minutes in, they have really big potential from Elk with that Bloodthirster, and of course the still window of power for the Renekton happening for this early into mid game. This could be very powerful. In fact, actually, BLG, I'm wondering whether they'd even go towards a contest here. MF is here with the Bloodthirster.
Okay, doesn't steal away the Herald. Croco will get that, and Outlet zips out of the top side. But speaking of zipping, Knight moving over on that Zeri, wants a big lightning crash, and Croco will be the target. That's 300 gold into Knight's pocket.
Yes, that's nice. He gets an extra, again, a little bit of gold across the solo lane. It's been wants every little bit he can get at this point. The further Renekton is ahead of the game, the longer their window of power remains to be. Kyle potentially going towards Wei, and now Wei's caught out. Shanks is coming in.
Kyle actually got the Gromp there. BLG just cannot get Gromps. They just can't. That Gromp has got them every single time. In the previous game, it was literally Knight losing the game for the Gromp. This time around, it's just a flash from Wei. But either way, that Gromp is a mob boss, I'm telling you.
He's got some dirty secrets there. He's got some frog skeletons in the closet. As get now again to a really strange game state where it feels like these are not very structured plays all the time. It feels like it is very responsive to someone showing on the map and trying to like very quickly make these decisive teleports. You know what this is? This is 2 Tabe teams playing against each other. This is actually the result of that. We're actually Tabe's style, and I think he's one of the few coaches you can actually see shine through in the team's macro in the way that they play very obviously. Very quick, decisive map teleports where they try and read the game state and like get snappy teleports to push people out of position on the map. Ale, that's how they did that's how they managed to come to dominance in Group D of the group stage, and I feel like that's been a core part of their style. And of course BLG, they were kind of coached into dominance last year by Tabe coming in midway through spring and revolutionizing that team. And yes, he's gone from that team, and yes, Knight has come into the roster and Wei has as well. But I think there are still some shadows of that gameplay left in BLG. Absolutely, they've built a style off of it. I think actually we can see that quite effectively here.
And honestly, I'm really excited to see what AL can get done in playoffs, because I feel like this is it's almost like an experiment here of like, you know, we saw what Tabe could do with BLG, which is a roster of like world-class players, or at least by the time they were done on their run. Can he do the same when you've got a roster like AL that weren't world-class players when this roster first themselves a pick, but that's a bullet time. Put to sleep as well. They get over the walls, so Croco and Ala might be able to help flashes to finish the job.
And they have the 6 grubs. That'll be another tower down. BLG, they have the tools this time to accelerate the game, and AL are just falling behind on the map. It's Tabe team versus, and they're slightly quicker to pull that punch in. Letting that MF through to have that dominant bot lane has really changed things. You could see that AL potentially be looking even there to have a decisive teleport again, to get Shanks into the backline, but they just don't want to take that fight against Elk's MF. He is far too strong.
Elk is monstrous at this point. He's on his way to getting his real Essence Reaper instead of just the phony one we saw earlier. The Herald finally dropped. Should lead to a tower in the mid lane, but with Elk here, actually, maybe they can't push it and the job. I don't think they can kill this before it gets the charge, but still, Tier 1 survives. It's only 1 tower this game so far for AL. It's 6 for BLG. That is sheer map dominance.
Yeah, BLG, they have just really accelerated this game. They've got 1 minute till the Dragon. That'll be an early soul point for them as well. Everything is working out. But go back to a replay of course, the play which happened in this top jungle as well, where he's caught out, but you're overcommitting onto the Rel. It's not the MF. It's not the Zeri. You're putting your damage into the wrong target. I get trying to look for the quick pick. It's not a quick enough pick onto a tanky enough support. You get the 1 kill, but you then run out of tools to finish off the rest of this play.
It's rough. Alan nearly got away. The fact that Elk is willing to flash for that kill as well, that kill really doesn't lead to anything, but Elk confident that they will be on the attacking side of these plays, that he won't need his flash defensively, that he's quite happy to exchange that for 300 gold. And I mean, now, he didn't even go for the Essence Reaver, by the way. He's gone for Infinity Edge, second item. So this is a really powerful misfortune, exchanging that mana regeneration for just outright damage.
And it does really feel like now, BLG, anytime AL misconnect, they don't connect with those carries, they're just going to immediately explode.
Croco is found on the wrong side of the play. It's a TP in from Ala. They're going to try and turn this into a 5v5. AL want to fight it somehow on, looking for the engages. The roots come on in. Bin on the top side of the play as well, but it's 4v5 for the time being. Here comes the Crocus Knight surviving on the bottom side of the play, and Bin gets his moment. Revenge for the camp on the top side from Croco. BLG get themselves a clean fight.
This is, and this one just doesn't feel like it is playable for AL at this point. BLG, they gave them a bit of hope in game 2, and even then that got scrappy and it got close. It just hasn't been close this time. Elk wins lane, BLG win bot lane, they roll that across the map, it comes into the combo. Baron's gonna go down just a minute after it's been birthed onto the rift, and AL, they are just not close in any role right now. Shanks can't carry from this position, Ala can't carry from this position, Croco and Hope, they were kind of out of this game as well. And AL, it's just not a close game. They don't hit the carries the right way again. You can see that. They teleport in. This is Tabe team versus Tabe team, but they do try and go for these big, decisive teleports on side lanes across the map. Try and read the map better than the opponent. But right here, the bullet time doesn't get stopped. They don't get onto Elk quick enough. And yeah, they do get some damage onto Knight, but the damage is done. The damage is done. And it leaves so much room when they miss the carries in the right point for the damage to come through after.
Aloe is literally halfway through his attack animation as he dies there. But Knight manages to survive the play, and Bin using the Hex Gates to get himself onto the backline. Dominus going to be used as he tries to escape. Ala considering going in, but Bin has bought all the space he needed there using the Hex Gate. It's an 8,000 gold lead, and I'm telling you, this team is exactly the same as what Top Esports used to be. This is happy gaming right here. You don't stomp game number 1 and then game number 3 like this and just look completely lost in game number 2 every single series by mistake. I don't believe in coincidences. BLG, they're hiding strats, they're playing the long game, and they're having some happy games along the way.
BLG, of course, they're looking to get themselves ever higher and higher into this Ascension group, trying to fight for seeding and get as best they can. Honestly, they probably don't deserve the top seeds, but the way that they've been playing disrespectfully this summer, but they still deserve to be recognized for their upper level of potential. It's one of these really frustrating things about this team. I know they're goddamn good. I just want them to play like it all the time because it'd be better League of Legends. Yes, it's entertaining to see some teams give them good games over time, but this team should be playing like this more consistently. Knight going to walk into Croco, and I think Croco doesn't want this fight.
Croco is on the wrong side of this one, and Knight gets stunned, but he'll be okay with that one. Baron being used now. All 5 members of BLG on the bottom side. As Croco stunned by Bin. BLG getting kind of chunked at this point. I don't know how much longer they want to hold this siege. It's not like that comp has crazy range to work with.
Yeah, I think that'll be it. 1 minute left of the Baron means that they can reset with the empowered recalls, get one last wave pushed out in each lane, and then they can use that to kind of tie it over to the next phase of play. It's not going to be long enough to set up the map for the next dragon, which is going to be up in 3.5 minutes. God, that Hex Soul with everything else. Hex Soul is one of the most broken things you can have with either Zeri or Misfortune as well. For Zeri, because every time she hits you, you get slowed, and she hits you some more. And the problem with MF is that she puts down that ultimate, and it's like she's hit you with the Make It Rain without actually casting the Make It Rain if that's not available as well. It's like a free slow into all of this massive AoE, which is just absolutely obnoxious. Also giving the attack speed and the ability haste as well on the individual dragons. I mean, everyone on this team loves a little bit of that as well. Anyone's Legend, they are hugely far behind in gold. They do have the 2 item spikes on their 280 carries, and Arla isn't unstrong with 2 items. He's just way far behind on the map, and he's going to get 1v3'd.
Arla pops his Grandmaster's Might. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference here. Perhaps gets a chance to stun up onto Elk, but no, Bin moves in the way, protects his AD carrier. Now Arla gets flanked by Wei as well. Stepped too far up in the lane, looks for Elk, and the cleanse comes through from Elk in the end, so at least a minor punish from Ala, but at the end of the day, he's still caught out.
And he's going to be dead for another 40 seconds. Oh, God, that might even be inhib turret gone. 6 grubs. This is the problem. BLG, they've synced up their waves
well. They're pushing mid as well.
Ala's now going to be dead for another 30 seconds. Yeah, Shanks is pushing a side lane, but this is going to be a 6 grub push with multiple AD carries into multiple roles.
Is this going to be 2 inhibs?
This is going to be double inhibs because Ala dies here. And because he died so late, he can't respawn and then teleport in for a threatening play. Shanks will push for an inner turret, but it is just not worth it. Ala over pushes. Ala costs his team 2 inhibitors because AL just haven't wrangled the map well.
And that is just phenomenal from BLG. The punish, that's triple inhibs because the top tower was already opened up. My lord, 1 top laner death, and this team will take. So I just wish that they.
Knight's going to teleport to defend the inhibitor turret as well. 1 minute 30 until the dragon. This is because Shanks. God, he has to teleport out. The Hex Gates will help you get to the points of the map you need to be. Now the problem is for Hex Soul coming up in 1 minute 30. Now the inhibitors just got taken. That's going to be 3 waves of super minions that will spawn before this dragon comes through. So you have to deal with all of them. Arla is trying to like hard push out this bot lane as quickly as possible at this point because there's 1 minute until dragon now. But the rest of the map, you could just lose the game off with this dragon, and Wei is catching them out because AL are scrambling and they are going to be behind the map. This should be the series right here. AL, this is an impossible scenario to break.
How on earth do they dig their way out of this one? AL need more than just the potential we've been talking about all year. They need a bloody miracle at this stage. They need to show us something truly exceptional if they're going to find a way back into this game. But, I mean, 3.5 items on Azeri, 8 stacks on Wei's Dark Steel, 3 items on Elk. It's not getting any easier, and with double supers in every single lane, the sheer amount of pressure this AL roster is under, and especially when you know Tabo was talking to them in between the games saying, come on lads, you've got to beat my old team. I'll never live it down if we lose to BLG. Well, I'm afraid, Tabe, you might not ever live it down.
Yeah, might not have a choice in this one. AL, I just can't look at any of these matchups and say it's going to go well for anyone's Legend. I think that right now, Knight, even though he's not as far ahead of gold against Corki, has all of the items to just completely shred this. This is a free Hex Soul. AL realize if they contest this dragon, they lose the game. When you kill 3 inhibitors, 2 super minions spawn with each wave, and you can see that AL are trying their very best to try and keep these waves away from the Nexus. How do you defend the dragon at Baron now? You've given up a Hex Soul. You've given up the map. You still haven't been able to push things across the other side of the river. Baron's up. If you move away from this, there's even a chance that Bin can teleport into a wave as well. He's not the best tower taker on the Renekton, but it'll be enough with all the super minions. Knight's going to go towards this now, and AL, what do they do?
1v1 me, bro. Knight just starts Baron by himself. I'll contest one thing you said there, and that's that the Hex Soul was free. It was not free. It cost AL a lot of happiness when BLG took that one. 8k on the Baron. There is a ward in the pit, but realistically, what's Croco going to do about it unless he can make some kind of miracle still happen? But he's put to sleep, and he's taken down the picks on top of the objective. I mean, this is a victory lap for BLG at this point. This is brutal.
BLG versus Anyone's Legend, the two top 8 teams of this era face off against each other, and one is quite clearly head and shoulders above the other. BLG are still best of 3 merchants, but they're still BLG at the end of the day, and Anyone's Legend, well, they're nobody's legend here in Game 3.
Certainly not. Bullet time comes down to finish off Shanks. On even survives as the fountain dive goes through. Ala looks for one last hurrah, but the only hurrah he'll be hearing is the BLG fans in the audience as the Nexus will fall at BLG. This year has been an interesting year for the LPL. Our top teams have not necessarily looked like top teams the whole time. Even towards the end of this split, we still have top teams bringing us big questions like BLG today. But we are getting towards playoffs now, and we are starting to see that the top teams are going to be in form by the time we get to Worlds. Thank the Lord, we actually might have some competitive teams.
So we have 1 day left of our Rumble stage as well. Tomorrow we have FPX BLG.
It's a big day.
And then we have Top Esports JDG. Top Esports JDG, that's actually huge. That's insane. That could potentially... I'm trying to remember if that will potentially flip. No, that doesn't really affect, sadly, JDG. But I think with the results of that day... Oh, actually, I'm not sure if that means... It doesn't mean much for standings. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean that much for standings, because actually a lot of things have narrowed down with today's results. It does mean a lot for momentum. If JDG managed to look competitive versus Top Esports, that really opens up the conversation for top of the table. Because I think currently Top Esports look like best team in the LPL. If they struggle versus JDG, that could be changed.
If I'm not mistaken, it does still matter tomorrow for Top Esports being able to get in the top 2, right? BLG's result really matters, and Top Esports' result matters, because both BLG and Top Esports can still make it to 2nd seed. So both series matter in terms of who gets the buy into double elimination.
FPX would have to lose the series, and Top Esports would have... Top Esports, as long as they win, they will have a better game differential at that point, because they have a really good game score. Okay, so that's what matters there. So Top Esports win, BLG lose, and then Top Esports will get top 2. If that's not the case, we'll have BLG being in top 2 instead. If BLG win, I think they get first. In fact, I think they will get first if they end up winning that one because of game.
Oh, who got the head-to-head? Because they'd be tied if it was a 2. Wait, no, sorry.
Because I think they just went to 6-1 plus 6 game score.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, so they'll be tied if it's 2-1. They'll win outright if they 2-0.
Yeah.
They'll be tied if it's 2-1, and LNG has the head-to-head. So if BLG wins 2-1 tomorrow, LNG gets first seed. If BLG 2-0s tomorrow, they get first seed. First versus second seed doesn't really matter in the LPL because you both get into round 4. But either way, BLG need to win tomorrow if they want to make it into top 2. That's the big thing. And the same to be said for Top Esports, but Top Esports require BLG also to lose.
Okay, folks, we'll stick around to see who the MVP is, or at least I will. Joe, buddy, happy to hang out or not, but you can also do whatever. You can do whatever the heck you want. You're a free person, Joe. Honestly, it's been really. I'm obviously honored to have you on stream again today.
I feel like Dobby, who's just received a sock. What a blessing of you to freebie.
I have to say, I kind of like the Unchained cast a little bit. I had a line there, what was it? It's like. And like the jungle matchup is because of the Sejuani, I was trying to fit in like a David Cameron treating the ball like that at some point. Couldn't quite get that one in there, but God. It was sadly a bit of a sad game to end off today with and end off like the unbroadcast games. A little bit anticlimax, but also I'm just glad we got to see some fireworks from BLG to some extent. This is what we should have seen from BLG.
Yeah, at least we got real BLG gameplay. I feel like I don't know. AL, they still feel like a good team to me. It's just, it's a great many series now that we've not seen that for. That's 5 losses in a row from the squad. I feel like Allet and Shanks both really want it. I feel like Crocco's had some really good games. I don't think that there's one individual player that you can really pinpoint as like the problem, but I don't know, it's just not working.
So what I was pointing out before for AL has been jungle support movements on the map and a bit of their synergy as well, but that has looked better in the last week as well, so that might not even be the case. And the problem with games like this, against teams like this, it's like similar to when AL are playing against top esports. It's top esports, it's BLG. The problem is, AL are a good team, but are they a great or a truly excellent team? And that's the problem, where there are genuinely excellent teams here in the LPL, where you have like laners, like Bin, like Elkanon when they're on form, where it just feels like every bit of work that you put in, even if you are, you know, Arla has been a top team, a top tier top laner before, Shanks is moving up towards that in terms of top lane, you know, the hope is an LPL champion as well, but it's just so hard to match up on a pound-per-pound value against a lot of players on BLG when they actually put together a cohesive game plan. It hasn't always happened, but yeah, I feel like AL, if I was going to criticize them across the most of this Rumble split, it has mostly been about jungle support synergy, but even then, that's looked a lot better in the last week. So I'm not as down on them as I was a week or two ago. I think hopefully they will still contend in playoffs. To what degree, that's going to be an issue. They're going to start off in, you know, a round of playoffs. I think they'll still deal quite handily with like your NIP, JDG, stuff like that. I don't exactly know what they're going to do against the rest of the teams, though. That jury's out on that front for me.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm going to call it there, mate. I'm going to call it there.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Yeah, I'm going to go drink the rest of my iron brew. I'm going to probably have G&T a little bit later as well. That'll be lovely in the sun.
And then we'll catch you on the official broadcast. And obviously, folks, remember to go follow Joe. Remember to go follow him on his socials and on his channel, everything like that. Wonderful caster, wonderful friends. And thank you so much for joining you as Wei gets the MVP. And buddy, I'll see you on broadcast. Or I'll see you before then for presumably class planning at some point.
Yes, I think my next cast will be either on the 10th or the 11th. So it's a little while away. But yeah, is that right?
Something like that.
No, that can't be right.
Man. I'm just... Dude,
no. Sorry, it's not. It's the 4th. The 4th is my next broadcast.
I have to say, I fucking crawled across these last couple of weeks. I lost my voice midway through last week. I've been in like 2 podcasts a week, a load of these casts, a load of the official streams. Like, I'm so fucking ready for a break, folks. I'm so ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, as Captain Gore said in chat, Peepo vanish. Catch you later.
See you in a bit, buddy. Thank you so much. Okay, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. So, folks, from me as well, let me turn the volume. Let me chat to you for a little bit, folks. Across this year, across spring and summer, I've kind of put it as a mission to myself to cover the LPL games that were not on the official broadcast. There are other co-streamers, of course, that would help with this. This is the only channel which is specifically stuck with the LPL day in, day out. We have cast it as a formal broadcast and really tried to get as much pro coverage as possible. And between this channel and other co-streams as well, I really hope you found a new way or a continued way to enjoy the LPL games. We have now covered 170 games here across spring and summer. We missed 1 or 2 games. I apologize for that for what it's worth. We really hope that you've been enjoying yourself, that you've been enjoying the LPL. The support has been fucking incredible. I've noticed a couple of subs in chat as well from over time. And we've gone from like 1,000 followers up to like over 7,000, which is absolutely insane within about 7 months. Cam, thank you so much for the sub as well. And for the bits which throw into chat for Fair as well. I saw a sub from you there, and if there's anyone I missed as well, know that I appreciate you all the same. And yeah, thank you to all of the other casters which come on the channel. So much love for Munch, for Mazal, for Yanni, for Carrix, and then particularly to my brother as well, Samuel Initialize Hapgood. You would have seen he's not here right now, but you would have seen him for many hundreds of hours here on this channel as well. I can't have done it without these guys. Solo casting would have been absolutely a no-go. I hope that you've enjoyed yourselves. I hope you've enjoyed the LPL. And I hope you also stick around with the channel as well. In off-season, we're going to do some different projects. I think what we're going to do is we're going to watch back some historical League of Legends. So I want to go back and watch Samson White and Samson Blue in 2014, for instance. I want to go back and watch the Fnatic undefeated run in 2015 summer. And some of these historical moments in which maybe people have forgotten about a little bit. And if you have any ideas for that, join the Discord. There's a Discord where you can join the community and speak with us a bit more. And yeah, we can go through some of that too. I'm actually weirdly emotional. I've put in fucking maybe 1,000+ hours from this year alongside my official class. My voice is fucking broken. I am exhausted. I've done 400 casts or so this year already in 6 months. I'm fucking broken. But honestly, the support has made this absolutely worthwhile, and I'm sure this is cringe to some of you, but it does mean an awful lot that you can support me in doing this as well. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go find someone to raid over to. So I'm going to find someone to go raid and send over to you guys too as well. But thank you so much for the support. I'll still be doing chill co-streams for the LPL when I can, when my voice allows for it as well. And yeah, I just really hope that you've enjoyed this, that you see the value in this. God, who should I send you over to? So I might do something a little bit different. Oh, would she appreciate that? I have a friend who's streaming to not very many people right now. It's streaming a Star Wars game, which is a little bit different. And also on YouTube, I'm going to end the YouTube stream here, but yeah, I wonder if we just send them a huge raid, but you have to promise to be nice, okay? All of you have to choose, you got to be nice, okay? You got to promise me with that, okay? So they're playing Jedi, they're playing Jedi Fallen Order for the first time. They're a voice actor friend of mine, they're a good friend called Saf. Please be very nice. Drop them a follow if you can. I know it's a very different audience, but hopefully this will mean a lot to them as well. And, okay, just gonna hope this is okay. So, send you over to them now. And, yeah, thank you so much for the support, as always. It means a fucking ton. And, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Hello. Nice. Very nice. Wait. Oh my god! Babe! What's up? Hello? Hello, Raiders. What's up? Nice to meet y'all. What's up? Hello. Thank you, Nymera, for that. Hello. Oh, God, not this guy. Okay, we're going to take cover for a hot second. Hello. Welcome to Zepho. We're chilling on Zepho right now. Just leveling up because we met Death Santa Claus back there. What's his name? Taran something? I don't know. Crazy ex-Jedi guy on Dathomir. So now we're just leveling up. The One Piece is real. The One Piece is real. Are you done? Oh, this is bad. This is, oh, great. This is fantastic first impression, isn't it?
Another step.
Yeah. Give it all that. Shut up. Got some raiders in the chat. What's up, guys? Everyone doing? Everyone doing okay? Everyone drinking water? Because it's fucking boiling out here. All right. Oh, what's up, BB?